Chapter 229. Miao Yen had been recuperating for more than half a year, but he had no intention of coming out. It was unknown whether he had not fully recovered from his injuries or he was too lazy to come out to work. The old steward did not say anything about this, and Xiao Lingyu and the other two did not intend to force Miao Yen to come out to work. After Wang Tai and Hao Ren also began to work, Xiao Lingyu was much more relaxed, and his free days gradually increased. In fact, Xiao Lingyu had nothing to do. His cultivation and realm had reached the stage of chaotic voiding, but he was not prepared for the breakthrough at all. Since he had nothing to do, Xiao Lingyu helped the strange cub improve its strength, hoping that it could help him in the future, just like the serpent and the icy soul silkworm helped him in the cultivation world. A year and a half after the adult demonic beast riot, Xiao Lingyu received a message from Zhu Jin, asking him to hurry to the bandits' lair. This group of bandits was Xiao Lingyu's helpers in collecting magic stones, so Xiao Lingyu naturally could not ignore their matters, so he asked the old steward for a month's leave. The old steward had always been good to Xiao Lingyu, and with Wang Tai and Hao Ren, feeding the cub could not be delayed, so he naturally agreed to Xiao Lingyu's request. After leaving the East Pole demon sect, Xiao Lingyu spent more than a day to rush to the bandits' lair. The bandits' lair had not changed much, and it was still as simple as before, but it seemed much more crowded. It should be because many new people had been recruited recently, but all the bandits were still at least in the early stage of Heavenly Demon. "What's the matter?" Xiao Lingyu asked after following Zhu Jin and the 3 Demon King bandit leaders into a secret room. "It's a little troublesome." Zhu Jin responded first and then said, "We organized a big event 3 months ago, but it failed." "It's okay to fail once in a while," Xiao Lingyu replied nonchalantly. "It's not that our plan wasn't thorough, but there was an unexpected situation this time. We joined forces with another group of bandits and were about to take down the target, but a true demon stage expert suddenly passed by. At that time, because our people didn't know what realm the other party was, and in order to act secretly, we attacked him. As a result, he attacked us. Luckily, we had a lot of people and the opponent was only an early-stage true demon, so he left after killing a dozen of our people." Zhu Jin continued with a gloomy face. "Although we chased away the true devil early-stage powerhouse, our side also suffered heavy losses, causing the entire operation to fail. Although the operation failed, the people who cooperated with us were invited by us. They still asked me for a reward. If that operation had been successful, we would have earned a lot. That's why we offered the other bandit group a very high reward. If the operation had failed, we wouldn't have been able to afford it. We said that we would continue to cooperate and pay them back if we succeeded next time, but they didn't agree. They gave us 3 months to settle with them, otherwise." "Otherwise what?" Xiao Lingyu frowned and asked. He also felt that this matter was quite troublesome. The other party's strength is about the same as ours, and we suffered heavy losses when resisting the true demon stage expert. If the other group of bandits really attacked us, even if we could hold on, we would suffer heavy losses. If we stayed far away, then the circle of relationships we established in the vicinity would be completely wasted. Also, the other party has been sending people to keep an eye on us. With so many of us, it's impossible for us to leave quietly. Also, they said that it's fine if we don't want to pay, but we have to all join their group," Zhu Jin said gloomily. "You need to summarize the experience of this operation's failure. If you encounter a powerful expert in your next operation, how to deal with this must be calculated before the operation." Xiao Lingyu first instructed, then asked, "Since the other group of bandits is about the same strength as us, there shouldn't be any true demon stage experts, right?" "Of course, there are no true demon realm experts. The highest cultivation among them is only at the middle stage of the Devil King realm. However, there are 3 early-stage Devil Kings among them. Moreover, there are more than 40 Heavenly Demon Realm experts, and quite a few Earth Demon Realm experts." Zhu Jin shook his head and replied. Then come with me. I'm going to meet their leader. Xiaoling Yu said as he stood up and walked outside. Do you want to greet them first? Zhu Jin followed and asked. There's no harm in greeting them, Xiaoling Yu said casually. Zhu Jin thought about it and took out the communication bead. He felt that it was more appropriate to greet them. The other group of bandits' lair was also in this mountain range. It only took 4 hours for Xiaoling Yu and the others to rush over. Since they had already greeted them, the other party was naturally prepared. At the entrance of the other party's lair, there were 2 rows of bandits standing neatly. Although their cultivation was uneven, there were more than 100 of them. These 100 people each held a black silk banner in their hands. It looked like a big scene. Xiaoling Yu glanced at them and landed without a change in expression. The intermediate Demon King stage leader of the other party welcomed them and said with a smile, "Welcome, everyone. Please follow me inside for a chat." The other party's lair was the same. They first had to go through a winding tunnel to reach it. In the depths of the lair was a relatively large underground cave. The cave itself was used as a living room. It was also the place where the bandits usually held meetings. The stone walls around the cave were opened up into secret rooms. It was naturally not appropriate to talk about such an important matter in front of so many people. Therefore, after the other party's leader entered the cave, he invited Xiaoling Yu and the others into a secret room. This secret room was rather large. There were 2 rows of stone chairs. However, the chairs were covered with soft demonic beast fur. May I know who this is? The other party's leader asked Xiaoling Yu. Although Zhu Jin had greeted them, he only said that he would be coming. He did not say how many people there would be or who would be coming. This is our leader, Zhu Jin introduced. So it's the leader. Sorry for the disrespect. The other party's leader was stunned. Then, he stood up and cupped his fists politely. At this moment, Xiaoling Yu only revealed the aura of a late Demon King. The other party's leader naturally had to be more polite. However, he was not very afraid. After all, this was their lair. They had the advantage in numbers. Leader, you're too polite. Xiaoling Yu cupped her fists in return. Then, she said straightforwardly, let's not beat around the bush. This time, I'm here to discuss with the leader. Haha, there's no need to discuss. The matter of the remuneration can be delayed. We're neighbors. There will be plenty of opportunities to cooperate in the future. There's no rush, no rush. Before Xiaoling Yu could finish speaking, the leader seemed to be very tactful. The demon realm was so realistic. If you were weak, others would bully you. However, if you were strong, everything would be easy to talk about. Haha, leader, you've misunderstood. I'm not here to discuss the remuneration. Xiaoling Yu shook her head and smiled. Then what is it? As long as the leader speaks, everything will be easy to discuss, the other party's leader said straightforwardly. I think that it's actually not bad for our 2 families to work together. Don't you have the intention to take us in? Xiaoling Yu said with a smile. The leader was a little confused. His brain seemed to be unable to wrap itself around it. However, after a moment, he laughed loudly and said, Haha, that was just a joke. Leader, don't take it seriously. Jokes can also become reality. If we work together, the scale will be bigger, and we can do more things. The more people there are, the better. The things we can snatch will definitely be better, Xiaoling Yu said with seemingly sincerity. Leader, are you really not joking? The other party's leader asked after pondering for a moment. It's not a joke. Xiaoling Yu nodded. Leader, are you thinking of annexing us? With your cultivation, once we work together, you'll definitely be the leader. An early-stage Demon King leader said. If we work together, I'll naturally be the leader. In the demon realm, it's a rule that the strong are respected, Xiaoling Yu said bluntly. Then it's annexation, not cooperation. The other party's mid-stage Demon King leader narrowed his eyes, and the smile on his face disappeared. If you're a little more obedient, it'll be cooperation. If you have any other ideas, then it'll be annexation. Although Xiaolin Yu's tone was very gentle, the meaning behind his words was very strong. The meaning of these words was very obvious. The other party's 4 leaders all understood. If they didn't agree, the other party's leader would use force to resolve it. Originally, they had a lot of advantages in terms of strength. However, with the appearance of the other party's leader, who was a late-stage demon king, the strength of the two sides immediately flipped. This leader is too arrogant. Even if his cultivation is a little higher, we have more people than them. How can we submit to them? An early-stage demon king leader said unhappily. You don't agree? Xiaolin Yu narrowed his eyes and asked the leader, his expression full of disdain. I just don't agree. Who do you think you are? How dare you speak so arrogantly in our territory? The early-stage demon king leader was provoked by Xiaolin Yu's expression and tone. After scolding him very angrily, he actually took out a heavy but very sharp axe and directly chopped at Xiaolin Yu's head. You're courting death! Xiaolin Yu shouted softly, but his body didn't move at all. He only reached out his hand and grabbed the other party's axe. You dare to use your body to take my mid-grade demon axe head-on. I really don't know who's the one courting death. The early-stage demon king leader was a little happy. However, in the next moment, when his demon axe came into contact with the other party's palm, his joy was frozen. The other party's palm didn't use the slightest bit of skill to defend. He actually grabbed his demon axe just like that, and a large part of the axe's blade was curled up. You dare to make a move with just this bit of ability? I really don't know how you can survive in the demon realm for so long. Chapter 230. With his powerful magic treasure destroyed, the early-stage Devil King cultivator tasted something sweet in his throat before spitting out a mouthful of blood. His body flew out and smashed into the wall of the secret room. The other leaders were about to attack, but when they saw this scene, their butts, which had just risen half a foot, fell back into their seat. Their faces were filled with shock. They were not only shocked that Xiaolin Yu blocked the attack of the magic axe with his bare hands, but also that Xiaolin Yu could easily injure an early-stage Devil King cultivator with a wave of his hand. Not to mention the other leaders, even Zhu Jin and the other cultivators on their side were somewhat shocked. After being shocked, they were filled with joy, secretly thinking that they had followed the right person. Are you convinced now? Xiaolin Yu gently placed his arm in front of him and asked with narrowed eyes. The injured early-stage Devil King bandit did not dare to look directly at Xiaolin Yu. After a light snort, he turned his head away and did not answer. We are convinced. Master's strength far surpasses ours. Naturally, we have to treat Master as our boss. We are willing to be at Master's beck and call. The mid-stage Devil King bandit did not hesitate for too long and said very sincerely. Xiaolin Yu knew that although they said so, they might not be convinced in their hearts. Even if they were convinced, they would not be willing to be slaves. However, he did not need them to feel comfortable. In a place like the Devil Realm, the weak had no right to speak. As long as you were strong enough, you did not need to worry about your subordinates playing tricks. Make an oath. Xiaolin Yu did not intend to dawdle and said straightforwardly. We still need to make an oath? An early-stage Devil King leader asked in surprise. What? You don't want to? Xiaolin Yu asked with a cold expression. His eyes were already shooting out a sharp light. Under Xiaolin Yu's gaze, the other leaders felt a chill in their hearts and began to make an oath. Anyone could see that whoever did not make an oath would definitely die in this secret room. This master seemed to only have the aura of a late-stage Devil King, but he gave these leaders a feeling that he was more terrifying than an early-stage true devil expert. They did not dare to have any thoughts of resistance. After the other leaders finished making their oaths, Xiaolin Yu's expression softened. He said with a smile, Now that we are a family, we have to get along well with each other. We can't have internal conflict. Everything has to be discussed. Xiaoling Yu pointed at Zhu Jin and said, I am not usually in the mountain. Zhu Jin's arrangements, I will come back when I have time. Of course, Zhu Jin will send a message if there. Of course, if there is a big matter that cannot be resolved. Zhu Jin. Boss, after we join forces, shouldn't we come up with a more prominent name? The bandit leader of the mid-stage Devil King bandits asked. It doesn't matter if it's a title or not, but if you think it's necessary, then there's no harm in giving it a title. Xiaoling Yu thought for a while, then said, I don't have any good suggestions. You can name it yourselves. This matter should be decided by the head of the clan. A Devil King sincerely said. Let's call it Heavenly Bandits, Zhu Jin suggested. Heaven smiting? Robbing the heavens? A Devil King said in confusion. Robbing the heavens is good. This name is very impressive. A Devil King praised. That's right, the other leaders all agreed. Hee, if no one has any objections, let's call it Heavenly Bandits, Xiaoling Yu said with a smile. In the Devil world, the name of a bandit group that would be called a mythical existence in the future was decided in this small secret room by a few Devil King cultivators. A tree that needs to be hugged begins at the end of a hair, and 1,000 feet high platform rises from the ground. No one would have thought that this bandit group, which only had 200 people now, would have such amazing achievements in the future. The bandit leaders had already sworn a soul oath, so they naturally didn't dare to have any other thoughts. After completing the merger of the two bandit groups, Xiaoling Yu didn't leave immediately. Instead, he made use of everything that he had prepared beforehand to have his subordinates carry out the previous mission. Xiaoling Yu, on the other hand, watched from the side and then corrected some of the problems in the operation. Last time, Zhu Jin and the other bandits wanted to rob a sect called the Devil Scorpion Sect. They were about to succeed, but at the last moment, because of the appearance of an early true demon expert, everything fell short. The Devil Scorpion Sect's strength was far inferior to the East Demon Sect. The East Demon Sect could barely be considered a third-rate sect on the Blood Moon continent, so the Devil Scorpion Sect was simply not a first-rate sect. The strongest cultivator in the sect was only an intermediate Devil King cultivator. The entire sect only had 300 cultivators, and most of them weren't very strong. However, for a second-rate sect like the Devil Scorpion Sect, if they wanted to establish themselves in the Devil world, they naturally couldn't rely on their own strength. They would often join forces and help each other. Last time, Zhu Jin and the other bandits repelled the early true demon expert, but the reinforcements of the Devil Scorpion Sect had already rushed over. This was the root of the failure of Zhu Jin and the other bandits. If they wanted to succeed in robbing the Devil Scorpion Sect, the most important thing was to surround the sect before the reinforcements of the Devil Scorpion Sect arrived. Then, they would quickly make the Devil Scorpion Sect lose the ability to resist. The reason why they chose to rob the Devil Scorpion Sect was that the sect was relatively wealthy. Secondly, Zhu Jin felt that he could eat this big fish. Thirdly, the Devil Scorpion Sect's cultivators had a very bad reputation in the nearby cultivation world. It was to the extent that almost everyone loathed them. The cultivators of the demonic scorpion sect would raise and carry a demonic scorpion with them. Although they appeared to be a proper sect, they would lurk on the roadside like bandits and rob others. Additionally, after each robbery, they would have their demonic scorpion devour the robbed cultivators. Most of the bandits would let the victims live as long as they were willing to hand over their treasures. After all, cultivation wasn't easy, so the bandits generally wouldn't kill indiscriminately. When the robbed cultivators encountered the Devil Scorpion Sect, not only would they lose their treasures and lives, but they would also sometimes have their devil infant and nascent spirit imprisoned. The Devil Scorpion Sect would wantonly toy with and torture them. They might also be used for cruel experiment. This was the key reason why the Devil Scorpion Sect's cultivators had such a bad reputation. Moreover, the Demon Scorpion Sect would often ally themselves with other sects to deal with weaker bandit group. In the past 100,000 years alone, no less than 50 bandit groups with uneven strength had been wiped out by them. Many of the nearby bandit groups hated the Devil Scorpion sect to the bone. This was actually the reason why everyone thought of the Devil Scorpion sect when Zhu Jin asked them who they were robbing. This Devil Scorpion sect really needs to be taught a lesson. Xiaolingyu nodded after hearing the explanation. It hadn't been that long since the last robbery, so the difficulty of this operation would definitely be much greater than last time. However, the difference was that the two bandit groups last time appeared to be united on the surface, but were actually divided at heart. This time, they were like one family, dealing with each other with their full strength. Moreover, there was an additional expert like Xiaolingyu overseeing the operation, so the success rate wouldn't be any lower. After waiting for another half a month, when Xiaolingyu's time limit was almost up, the Heavenly Bandits' informants reported that the reinforcements invited by the Devil Scorpion sect had already left for 3 days. This was the best opportunity for the operation. Xiaolingyu promptly made a decision and gave Zhu Jin the order to begin the robbery. Immediately, all the members of the Heavenly Bandits came out in full force and scattered, slowly encircling the Devil Scorpion sect's encampment from all directions. The Devil Scorpion sect's encampment was located in a valley at the foot of a mountain known as the Giant Peak. The valley had long been renamed the Devil Scorpion Valley because of the Devil Scorpion sect. The valley was backed by a mountain, and there was a small river about 300 meters wide on its side. In front of and around it was a small mountain forest that couldn't be considered very large. For a sect, such an environment could be considered easy to defend and difficult to attack. This was because it was very difficult to silently encircle the place. Ordinary cultivators simply couldn't scale the mountain behind the Devil Scorpion Valley. If they could, there would be no need for a sneak attack. They could directly attack from the front and easily destroy the Devil Scorpion sect. However, the cultivators of the Devil Scorpion sect hadn't considered this point. Others couldn't scale the Giant Peak, but neither could they. The Giant Peak protected their rear, which was equivalent to cutting off their own escape route. Zhu Jin's plan didn't include the encirclement of the Devil Scorpion Valley's rear. When the members of the Heavenly Bandits arrived at a distance of 500 kilometers from the Devil Scorpion Valley, they began to gather at the front, left, and right of the valley before slowly advancing. As for the security arrangements that the Demon Scorpion Valley had arranged in the surroundings, Zhu Jin had already sent people to investigate them thoroughly. Previously, they had already eliminated them once. This time, although the other party would not continue with the same arrangements, the disciples they sent might not necessarily be experts in the field of security. Before the Heavenly Bandits formed an encirclement, the news had already reached the Devil Scorpion Valley. After all, after the previous incident, they had increased their security. It was very difficult for the Heavenly Bandits to surround the enemy's front door before the enemy knew that they were surrounded. However, Zhu Jin didn't care if the enemy knew because the cultivators of the Devil Scorpion sect had always been arrogant and conceited. At a time like this, they would choose to resist with all their might while asking for reinforcements. After all, the failure of the Heavenly Bandits last time should have greatly encouraged the cultivators of the Devil Scorpion sect, causing their self-confidence to soar again. It wasn't clear whether the Devil Scorpion sect's self-confidence was truly inflated or if they had other means to rely on. In any case, even after receiving the news, the cultivators of the Devil Scorpion sect acted as Zhu Jin had imagined. They didn't flee in panic, but instead, they prepared for battle. Another 4 hours passed. Everyone from the Heavenly Bandits had arrived outside the Devil Scorpion Valley. Apart from the Giant Peak that couldn't be scaled, they had sealed off the front, left, and right of the Devil Scorpion Valley. 2 mid-stage Devil King and 5 early-stage Devil King bandit leaders, in addition to nearly 100 Heavenly Devil King bandits, had far surpassed the strength of the Devil Scorpion sect. After ascertaining the strength of the Heavenly Bandits, the Devil Scorpion sect wisely arranged a demonic formation that enveloped the entire Devil Scorpion Valley. Chapter 231. According to Zhu Jin's plan, with such an obvious advantage in strength, they wouldn't even need a day to complete the mission. Hence, just like the previous time, Zhu Jin didn't even consider the other party's reinforcements. If he had to scheme against the other party's reinforcements, then there was no need to fight. This was because if the other party had reinforcements, the Heavenly Bandits wouldn't be able to succeed unless Xiaolingyu joined in as well. What demonic formation did they set up? Xiaolingyu asked Zhu Jin without a change in expression as he looked at the demonic Scorpion Valley that was shrouded in black demonic creatures and occasionally emitted sharp demonic beast roars. Zhu Jin wasn't very strong. Like Xiaolingyu, he didn't come with the expected combat strength. This is the demonic Scorpion formation that they asked a formation expert to help create. Previously, we attacked it once, and it was quite powerful. However, if we don't care about our losses, we can break it in 2 hours. If we want to break it with the smallest sacrifice, we'll need more than half a day, Zhu Jin explained calmly as he stared in the direction of the demonic Scorpion Valley. We don't have many people now, so we can't afford to expend too much energy. It's better to break the formation with the smallest sacrifice. Otherwise, even if we take down the other party, we won't earn much, Xiaolingyu said rationally after some thought. To be honest, although Xiaolingyu wasn't a vicious person, he didn't really care about the lives of these bandits. He understood the principle that a general's success was built on thousands of corpses. If he wanted to accumulate magic stones for himself, someone had to pay the price. And if these people wanted to follow Xiaolingyu and achieve great success, they had to be prepared to sacrifice their lives at any time. Furthermore, which bandit didn't know that the road ahead was dangerous? However, it was still good to have fewer sacrifices. After all, they had just started out, and their business was too small to withstand great storms. This demonic Scorpion formation's power is equivalent to that of 2 late-stage Demon King experts. If we can get a late-stage Demon King expert to help us, we can easily break this demonic formation, Zhu Jin said meaningfully. Haha, there are many things that can't be done too simply. Our team needs more training. If everything is done too simply, it will be difficult for us to fight difficult battles in the future. Xiaolingyu shook her head and laughed. When Xiaolingyu arrived at the Devil World, he didn't want to be too high-profile. After all, in his opinion, the Devil World was just a transit station for him to go to the Immortal World. He didn't want to stay here for too long, so during his time in the Devil World, he wanted to make as few moves as possible. It was impossible for him to not make a move at all. He might even go on a killing spree like he did in the cultivation world. No one could predict the future, but Xiaolingyu would control a little of what she could control now. Having already attacked the demonic Scorpion formation once, she was naturally more familiar with it this time. The work of breaking the formation was proceeding in an orderly manner. However, since the demonic Scorpion sect dared to stay, they naturally did not rely solely on the demonic Scorpion formation. When they saw the Heavenly Bandits' speed of breaking the formation increasing, they knew that they would not be able to hold on until reinforcements arrived. They released all the demonic scorpions they had raised and ordered them to attack the cultivators of the Heavenly Bandits to reduce the pressure on their demonic formation. Although the demonic scorpions' cultivations were not high, they were all fearless. They attacked wave after wave, causing the cultivators of the Heavenly Bandits to immediately stop attacking the demonic formation. Have you encountered this before? Xiaolingyu asked Zhu Jin. If the speed of breaking the formation was not increased, the demonic Scorpion sect might really be able to hold on until reinforcements arrived. I haven't, Zhu Jin replied without any change in his expression. Then, have you made any preparations to deal with this situation? Xiaolingyu asked again. Yes, Zhu Jin said with a nod. Just as Zhu Jin finished speaking, A dozen or so late-stage Heavenly Devil Realm experts among the cultivators of the heaven-smiting bandit group that were attacking the demonic scorpion formation leapt into the air and threw bags of white powder down from the sky. When the powder landed on the demonic scorpions, they immediately emitted smoke from their bodies. The demonic scorpions also let out blood-curdling screeches as they tried to shake off the smoke from their bodies, unable to continue attacking. This move is very targeted, Xiaoling praised. However, there are no shortcuts to breaking this demonic scorpion formation. We can only rely on strong attacks, Zhu Jin said gloomily. The demonic scorpion formation was created by the Heavenly Bandit. The other cultivators did not know the principles behind it at all. They had only attacked it once and were unable to find a flaw in it. However, after dealing with the demonic scorpion's charge, the Heavenly Bandit's attacks on the demonic scorpion formation continued to increase. After half a day, the demonic scorpion formation showed signs of collapsing. Under the attacks of more than 100 bandits, the demonic scorpion formation continued to rumble. Although the demonic chi surged more vigorously, its momentum gradually weakened. "We're about to break the formation. Everyone get ready," a bandit leader shouted as he increased his attack. "I've been looking for you for a long time, and I can't believe I've run into you here again. This time, you're all going to die." Just as the demonic scorpion formation was being attacked, an angry roar came from the distance. Then, a black light shot out from the distance and turned into a black figure standing in the air. "Oh no, that old guy of the early stage of the true demon realm is here again." Yu Jin's expression changed drastically. Zhu Jin was about to order the bandits to gather together to deal with this person, but he was stopped by Xiaoling. "Don't panic. He just advanced to the early stage of the true demon realm not long ago. He can't be that powerful." Xiaoling glanced at the black figure and said calmly. Zhu Jin had absolute trust in Xiaoling, but he didn't know how strong Xiaoling was. After thinking about it carefully, he calmed down a little. Xiaoling and Zhu Jin could calm down, but the bandits couldn't. Most of them had seen this person's magical powers and methods. They all thought that this expert would ruin their operation again. Continue to attack the demonic scorpion formation. Many bandits were preparing to retreat, but just as they turned around, they heard Xiaoling shout. Then, the bandit leaders took the lead and turned around to continue attacking. Only then did the Heavenly Bandits not collapse because of the early-stage true Demon Realm expert's appearance. "Kid, you're only at the late stage of the Demon King Realm, but you're quite bold." After hearing Xiaoling's shout, the black figure wrapped himself in a mighty aura and whistled down. "You guys just do your best to complete the mission. Leave this old guy to me," Xiaoling said to Zhu Jin. He also stood up, but his aura didn't increase by much. The strength of a ninth tribulation expert in the cultivation world was equivalent to the late stage of the Demon King realm. Xiaoling's realm was just one level higher than a ninth tribulation expert, comparable to the early stage of the true demon realm. However, in terms of realm, Xiaoling's strength wasn't something an ordinary early-stage true demon realm expert could compare to. On the other hand, his opponent had just advanced to the early stage of the true demon realm. If he didn't have an overly powerful magic treasure, he wouldn't be a match for Xiaoling. That was why Xiaoling was so bold and calm. Bang! Xiaoling and his opponent met in midair. Their palms fiercely pressed together, and then they both retreated. Powerful shock waves of aura swept out in all directions, causing all the bandits and cultivators of the Demon Scorpion sect to turn pale with fright. It was also because of this shock wave of aura that the Demon Scorpion formation, which was already on the verge of collapse, immediately collapsed. Black demon chi gushed out from the Demon Scorpion Valley, and huge demon scorpions revealed themselves from the demon chi. The Heavenly Bandits didn't rush over to fight with the other party. Instead, they surrounded the other party tightly. If anyone dared to rush out, everyone would focus their attacks on them. No one would be able to rush out. The overall strength of the Heavenly Bandits far exceeded that of the Demon Scorpion sect, so they could easily eliminate the other party. At first, the other party didn't want to rush out after all the cultivators who wanted to rush out were killed. However, when they saw the encirclement of the Heavenly Bandits gradually shrinking, they couldn't hold back anymore. The reason why Xiaoling Yu attacked was because he wanted to see what level he was at in the demon realm. When the two palms collided, Xiaoling Yu and his opponent were each sent flying a distance away. However, although this palm seemed to be evenly matched, Xiaoling Yu actually only used half of his strength. Moreover, his cultivation was only at the late-stage Demon King level. Even if he only used the strength of a late-stage Demon King, Xiaoling Yu cultivated the chaotic force, which was enough for him to challenge an early-stage true demon cultivator who had just advanced. You really do have some ability. The other party strangely praised. Then, he opened his mouth and spat out a black ray of light. A spinning wheel flashing with bloody light swept towards Xiaoling Yu at an extremely fast speed. You actually have a high-grade demon treasure. Xiaoling Yu narrowed his eyes, but he didn't show the slightest bit of fear. His body directly rushed towards the spinning wheel. When he was about to reach it, he fiercely threw out a punch. For an early-stage true demon cultivator, being able to have a high-grade demon treasure was definitely not a shallow fortune. However, a high-grade demon treasure was no threat to Xiaoling Yu. Moreover, under Xiaoling Yu's punch, the magic treasure's demonic light instantly dimmed and it flew into the sky like a meteor. How is this possible? The early-stage true demon cultivator turned pale with fright. Only now did he realize that he had kicked an iron plate. He immediately fled in the direction his spinning wheel had flown. You want to leave now? It's too late. Xiaoling Yu sneered. The wings of extreme speed appeared behind him. In a flash, he was already side by side with the other party. With another flash, he blocked the other party's path. Don't tell me you want to kill me all? The cultivator knew that he couldn't escape, so he simply stopped and asked. If I let you live, will you continue to look for my bandit group in the future? Xiaoling Yu asked indifferently. I can swear to the heavens that I won't think about revenge again. How about it? The person looked very sincere. Actually, I'm quite interested in the fact that you've passed by here twice. Can you tell me about it? Xiaoling Yu asked with a smile. If it was said that the person passing by here last time was a coincidence, but this time, the person appeared here again. Xiaoling Yu naturally had reason to suspect that there was a problem. The reason why he asked was because Xiaoling Yu planned to use this valley as the base of the Heavenly Bandits. With such an early-stage true demon expert frequently coming here, Xiaoling Yu naturally couldn't be at ease. I'm just passing by. When Xiaoling Yu asked, the other party's eyes flickered, but then he said perfunctorily. Chapter 232. I really just happened to pass by. Do you suspect that I'm related to the Devil Scorpion sect? The man asked. I really don't want to know if you're related. If you can't give me a satisfactory answer, I'll have no choice but to kill you, Xiaoling Yu said with a smile. If I go all out, you'll pay a heavy price even if you can kill me, the man said, unconvinced. I'm afraid you're being too arrogant. Your high-rank magic tool couldn't harm me in the slightest. I don't believe you have any other means to injure me. Don't talk big, my patience is limited. Look, the battle over there is about to end. If you want to be buried with the Demon Scorpion sect, I don't mind fulfilling your wish, Xiaoling Yu said in a relaxed manner. Below, the Heavenly Bandits gradually closed the encirclement with their absolute advantage. One after another, the cultivators of the Devil Scorpion sect died on the spot. For the bandits and passers-by in the vicinity, this was definitely a gratifying matter. Who knew how many cultivators in the vicinity wanted nothing more than to kill the entire Devil Scorpion sect? Only half a day had passed. The reinforcements of the Devil Scorpion sect definitely wouldn't arrive in time. Before they arrived, they would definitely turn around and leave upon hearing that the Devil Scorpion sect had been destroyed. They wouldn't even think about avenging the sect. The early true demon hesitated for a moment before dejectedly saying, "If you can promise not to kill me, I can tell you some secrets in detail. Whether I kill you or not depends on your attitude. It also depends on whether the things you tell me are valuable to me," Shaoling Yu said noncommittally. "It's definitely valuable to you. As long as you haven't reached the mystical demon realm, it's valuable to you," the early true demon said with certainty. "Then tell me about it," Shaoling Yu said with great interest. The early true demon took a deep breath and said, "Actually, I've been keeping an eye on the giant peak of the Devil Scorpion Valley for the past few years because I know there's a great opportunity there. Last time and this time, it wasn't a coincidence that I passed by. I've been loitering around the area. In order to prevent any accidents from happening, I intervened to prevent you from discovering anything in the giant peak after the Devil Scorpion sect was destroyed." "Aren't you worried that the Devil Scorpion sect will discover something?" Shaoling Yu asked. "The Devil Kings of the Devil Scorpion sect are too weak, and their realms are too low. If they could discover it, they would have discovered it long ago. After all these years of observation, I can already confirm that the giant peak is the place I'm looking for. I was just about to make my move when you guys came to rob me. Last time, I was injured and escaped. After recovering, I came here again. I was worried that you would come back and affect my actions, so I waited here for a while. I didn't think you would really come and bring an expert like you," the early-stage true demon cultivator said gloomily. "You don't have to be so depressed. If there are any benefits, I won't monopolize it. However, you have to promise me one thing," Shaoling Yu said generously. "What is it?" The newcomer didn't directly thank Shaoling Yu. Instead, he asked cautiously, "Help me lead these bandits and let them gradually grow stronger. Of course, I'll share their gains with you." Shaoling Yu pointed at the ground. The battle below was nearing its end. Almost all of the Devil Scorpion sect's cultivators had been killed. The Heavenly Bandits cultivators were also quickly cleaning up the battlefield and searching for treasures in the valley. Although I've been cultivating alone, it's precisely because of this that I don't have much experience in leading a group. If you want me to help, I can help, but it's too difficult to lead them." The newcomer shook his head. "What I want is for you to stay inside. I don't need you to come up with any plans. I just need you to occasionally contribute. In terms of planning, there are already experts inside," Shaoling Yu said, her tone gradually becoming gentler. "Is there a time limit? If there's no time limit, I'd rather you kill me right now." The newcomer seemed to want to negotiate. "Actually, there's nothing bad about being a bandit. Of course, if you think this bandit group has no future and want a time limit, I can give you a time limit. Let's set it at 10,000 years. After 10,000 years, you can leave at any time and we can make a soul oath. You don't have to worry about me forcing you to stay." Shaoling Yu said casually. 10,000 years? The early true demon cultivator was slightly surprised. Then, as if afraid that Shaoling Yu would regret it, he nodded and said, "Deal." 10,000 years wasn't a long time for a true devil cultivator. Sometimes, one secluded cultivation could pass in a flash. Although the time limit is a bit short, unless you really can't change the overall situation, you must do your best. You can't shirk responsibility or deliberately slack off. Shaoling Yu added, "That's not a problem. Since I've agreed, I won't do it half-heartedly." The newcomer nodded. "Good, then let's make a soul oath contract now." Then, Shaoling Yu and the expert both made a soul oath. This wasn't an oath of loyalty, but a contract of equal cooperation. "Boss, the area below has been cleaned up. Should we retreat?" A demon king flew up and asked. "What's the situation with the reinforcements of the demon scorpion sect?" Shaoling Yu asked indifferently. His expression didn't have the excitement and joy of a bandit after a great victory. Replying to boss, "They haven't retreated and are still rushing here at full speed. They'll be here in an hour, So Boss Zhu wants me to ask if we should retreat? The Demon King respectfully replied. No need to retreat. Have everyone get into formation and wait for them to come. Xiaolingyu said confidently. Boss, the reinforcements of the Demon Scorpion sect are made up of 4 sections. 3 of them aren't weaker than the Demon Scorpion sect, and 1 of them is much stronger. What? Are you questioning my decision? Xiaolingyu narrowed his eyes and stared at the Demon King. This subordinate doesn't dare. This subordinate will pass down the order for boss. The Demon King felt a chill in his heart from Xiaolingyu's stare. He hurriedly descended and warned himself not to be so stupid in the future. At the same time, he thought of the Demon Scorpion sect's early-stage cultivator who was fighting with boss. He seemed to be very calm with boss just now, as if the two had reached an agreement. Even an early-stage cultivator couldn't do anything to boss, so why should they fear the reinforcements? The battle just now wasn't over yet. You'll have a chance to show off in a bit, Xiaolingyu said to the early-stage cultivator. The early-stage cultivator frowned and understood that he had to show his loyalty. He nodded and said, Boss, don't worry. As long as there aren't any true demons, I'll deal with them alone. Haha, that's great, Xiaolingyu said with a laugh. After waiting for half an hour, the reinforcements of the Demon Scorpion sect came from afar. There were 1,000 of them. They were very orderly and majestic. They were like a black dragon flying through the sky with an aura that could flatten the world. When the reinforcements approached, they automatically separated and continued to advance in a pocket-shaped formation. They looked like they were going to surround the entire Demon Scorpion Valley. Their movements were fast and their coordination was good. Anyone who dares to take half a step forward will be killed without mercy. When the reinforcements were 1,000 feet away from the Demon Scorpion Valley, the early-stage cultivator who was originally standing beside Xiaolingyu flew out and proudly stood in the sky. He didn't allow anyone to refuse. The domineering aura of a true demon expert was fully displayed. The reinforcements were intimidated by the aura of a true demon expert and immediately stopped in their tracks. No one dared to take half a step forward. This was the so-called one man can hold back 10,000. However, a moment later, the reinforcements flew towards a person. That person was a late-stage Demon King. He cupped his fists and said, Senior, we received news that the Demon Scorpion sect was robbed and came to help. May I ask why Senior stopped us? The person's attitude was respectful. An early-stage true demon cultivator naturally wouldn't be too arrogant. He smiled faintly and said, This old man is also part of the robbers you speak of. Do you think this old man should stop you? Once this was said, all the cultivators except Xiaolingyu were shocked. The reinforcements were shocked because the Devil Scorpion sect had actually offended a true Devil Stage bandit. The cultivators of the Heaven-Smiting Bandit group were shocked because this true Devil Stage expert had wanted to kill them just a moment ago. How did he suddenly become one of their own? However, after the initial shock, what was different was that the reinforcements were all slightly fearful. They didn't dare to move forward and silently retreated. However, the Heaven-Smiting Bandit group was elated because they would have a true devil expert to oversee their bandit group in the future. As for why this true devil expert would join them, they must have thought of their leader. The reason why Xiaolingyu allowed this early-stage true demon expert to fight the enemy was to announce to outsiders and their own people that the Heavenly Bandits had a true demon expert. With a true demon expert here, the reinforcements seemed to have the advantage in numbers. However, they wouldn't offend a true demon expert just because of the Demon Scorpion sect, so they tactfully retreated. Xiaolingyu landed in front of Zhu Jin and said, The environment of the Demon Scorpion Valley is much better than the underground cave. Let's all settle down here in the future. Isn't this place a bit too obvious? Zhu Jin asked. Haha. Don't tell me you want to live in hiding from now on? Since you have great ambitions, you must have the courage to face the world, Xiaolingyu said with a smile, but his tone was a bit heroic. "All right, I'll have them clean up the valley." Zhu Jin accepted the order and left. "You've already joined the Heavenly Bandit. I still don't know your name. Let me introduce myself first. I'm Xiaolingyu." Xiaolingyu said to the early-stage True Demon Cultivator. "I'm Tsangju." The early-stage True Demon Cultivator replied. Chapter 233. The giant peak was called the giant peak not because it looked like a giant standing proudly between heaven and earth, but because there were a few giant stone statues on the steep cliffs of the giant peak. Ordinary cultivators could not fly, so they could not see the giant statues up close because they were all halfway up the mountain. Although Xiaolingyu could not fly directly to the top of the giant peak, he could still fly halfway up the mountain. He flew up with Tsangju and quietly observed the statues. The giants in the statues were either sitting cross-legged with their eyes closed, or looking up at the sky with their hands behind their back. Some had long hair flying in the wind with their eyes wide open, and some had a serious expression with their heads lowered. When Xiaolingyu heard that there were giant statues here, he thought that there was a secret hidden in these statues, and that he could comprehend some kind of peerless technique. He did not expect that after looking at them for half a day, he could not comprehend anything at all. Apart from the fact that these statues had realistic expressions and were worthy of praise for their large size, there was nothing special about them. Xiaolingyu was slightly disappointed. The key is not in these giant statues. They are just trying to hide something and attract everyone's attention. If we pay too much attention to these statues, we will not gain anything even if we come here 1,000 times, Tsangju explained when he saw Xiaolingyu's strange expression. "Then where is the key?" Xiaolingyu asked. "The key is in the nostrils of these statues. Through there we can enter the inside of these statues. The place we want to go is inside these statues." Tsangju pointed at the faces of the statues and said, "I see. If we did not know the secret behind it, it would be really difficult to find this key just by looking at it with the naked eye or using our minds," Xiaolingyu said in admiration. "However, even if there is a secret behind it, it is not easy to enter the inside of the statues. The space inside is huge and there are many restrictions. Not to mention that one careless mistake could lead to death. Even if there are no restrictions blocking the way, it will be very difficult to go deep because there should be some strange magical beasts that have cultivated for many years inside," Tsangju said worriedly. "Strange magical beasts?" Xiaolingyu frowned slightly. "Yes, strange magical beasts. They may be magical beasts that can be easily found in the demon realm, but there will be some changes that will be very troublesome to deal with. I do have a way to deal with those restrictions. It's just that I don't dare to rashly set foot in those magical beasts all these years." Tsangju nodded and said, "How strong are those magical beasts?" Xiaolingyu asked again. "They should all be below spirit demon," Tsangju guessed. "Even if they are all below the spirit demon stage as you said, but if there are late true demon stage or peak true demon stage existences, then the two of us won't be able to fight against them. Moreover, you can't rule out the possibility of spirit demon stage magical beasts. It's too risky to go in like this," Xiaolingyu said cautiously. "If you think it's dangerous, then we can make more preparations before going in. This is already our territory, so there's no harm in going in later," Tsangju said. Xiaolingyu thought for a while and said, "The world is changing. Today this is our territory. Who can guarantee that there won't be any changes here in the future? Who can guarantee that we will have a chance?" The reason why Xiaolingyu said this was not that she was not worried about those dangers, but she felt that if she left this time, maybe Tsangju would have already gone in alone before she came back again. "Then let's go in and give it a try. Maybe there are no strange magical beasts inside at all," Tsangju said, then moved his body and slowly approached the nostrils of a stone statue. From afar, the nostrils were not big, but when they got closer, they found that the nostrils were oval in shape. The largest diameter was no less than 5 feet. It could easily accommodate Xiaolingyu and Xiaolingyu at the same time. Entering the nostrils of the stone statue, it was completely dark, but the vision of the two was not too limited. The two of them could also see through their bodies without hindrance. First, they slowly went up for a while, then the road ahead suddenly turned and extended downwards. After going down for about 1,000 feet, Xiaolingyu finally felt the fluctuating aura of the restriction, and the restriction was not weak. Songju said that he had a way to deal with the restriction inside, so Xiaolingyu was not in a hurry to make a move. She waited for Songju to cast a spell. Songju did not dawdle. He walked in front of the restriction and took out a spirit beast bag. He shook it in the air and a silver light flew out. The silver light hit the restriction in an instant, but it did not cause any ripples. Instead, a beetle-like magical beast appeared. This is a forbidden devouring bug. As long as it is not a top-grade magical restriction, it can devour all the restriction energy in it. This restriction will also melt like ice and snow. We don't have to spend too much effort, but it will take some time, Songju explained. Brother Tsang is really extraordinary. You can even get such a rare thing like the forbidden devouring bug. Xiaolingyu praised. Although the forbidden devouring bug's bloodline was not comparable to a divine beast and could barely be regarded as an upper-rank divine beast, its ability to destroy restrictions was incomparable to many upper-rank divine beasts. The forbidden devouring bug is actually not a big deal. After all, it is extremely difficult to cultivate, and it can easily die. Many people are not willing to spend too much effort on it, Songju explained while waiting for the forbidden devouring bug to destroy the restriction. Indeed, the forbidden devouring bug below the mystical demon stage is not very useful. It can only destroy some upper-grade magical restrictions, and its speed is very slow. It also needs the restriction to be unguarded. Xiaolingyu knew a little about the forbidden devouring bug, so she was able to continue the conversation. Yes, the forbidden devouring bug seems to be able to devour restrictions, but it does not have any strong self-protection ability. It is very easy to be killed. Only when it grows to the mystical demon stage can it drive the restriction power in its body to attack and defend itself. Moreover, when it reaches the mystical demon stage, its carapace is comparable to an ordinary top-grade defensive magical treasure. It is not easy to die. Even if there is a restriction guarded by someone, it can withstand the attack of others and destroy the restriction, Songju continued to add. It is said that if the forbidden devouring bug can reach the demon overlord stage, its carapace is comparable to a defensive magical artifact. Even if it is a top-grade magical array guarded by someone, it can be destroyed in a moment. Even if it is a divine array, as long as there is no one guarding it, it can also swallow it into its stomach. It just takes a little longer, Xiaolingyu sighed and said. There are more than hundreds of millions of forbidden devouring bugs in the demon realm, but it is estimated that not even one of them can reach the demon overlord stage. Cultivating a forbidden devouring bug in the demon overlord stage not only requires countless restrictions of various grades, but also takes a very long time. According to records, there was a forbidden devouring bug in the demon overlord stage in the demon realm, and the cultivation time of that forbidden devouring bug was 3 times that of a demon overlord stage master. Songju also sighed and said. Xiaolingyu and Xiaolingyu talked about the forbidden devouring bug for half an hour before the forbidden devouring bug destroyed the restriction in front of them. Songju just slightly surged his aura, and the remaining power of the restriction was shaken away. The road ahead was opened, and the two kept the forbidden devouring bug and continued to move forward. Just like this, the two of them used most of the day to destroy over 10 high-grade devilish restrictions, yet they actually didn't encounter the strange devilish beasts they'd imagined. Xiaolingyu couldn't help but wonder if Songju had intentionally said that there were dangerous strange devilish beasts here to make him feel fearful and not dare enter. Just when Xiaolingyu was suspecting Songju, a strong wind blew in his face, and Xiaolingyu punched out without thinking. Bang! With a loud bang, Xiaolingyu felt a sharp pain in his fist, and his fingers became wet and hot. His fingers were injured. Xiaolingyu was shocked, and his body also took a few steps back. After standing still again, he looked at his bleeding finger and frowned. His finger was close to the quality of a top-grade immortal artifact, but it was injured, which meant that the attack just now was comparable to a top-grade immortal artifact. It's a demonic beast. Song-ju also retreated to Xiaolingyu's side and whispered. That gust of wind disappeared after attacking Xiaolingyu. No matter how Xiaolingyu searched, he was unable to see the other party's figure. This meant that not only was the other party extremely fast, his attack power was also not weak, and he was also good at hiding his figure. Such a demonic beast was very dangerous for any true demon stage expert. Xiaolingyu had reason to believe that if he did not come in, Song-ju alone would have lost his life. Xiaolingyu and Xiaolingyu were on full alert for a long time, but the strange demonic beast did not attack again. Song-ju said, "It may know that it can't do anything to us, so it has escaped. Let's move on." Xiaolingyu nodded and said, "Okay, let's move on, but we have to be more careful." Although the magical beast had disappeared without a trace and seemed to have escaped, Xiaolingyu always felt that there seemed to be a pair of eyes staring at him in the dark. He felt that the two of them had become the prey of the magical beast. Moreover, the other party was very patient. After a failed sneak attack, it would hide and look for the next opportunity. It could be considered an excellent hunter. However, Xiaolingyu was definitely not a docile sheep. If the demonic beast appeared again, Xiaolingyu would definitely attack it head-on. Just now, he was in a hurry, otherwise the demonic beast would not have had the chance to escape. It was also because he was confident that Xiaolingyu dared to move on. It wasn't long before the two of them were stopped by another restriction, and there was actually a magical beast that wasn't very large and had soft dark red fur lying in front of the restriction. The demonic beast was very strange. It had two heads, one was like a lion's head, and the other was like a tiger's head. However, the two heads were at the front and back of its body. In this way, it only had a head and no tail. "This isn't a liger beast, is it?" Song-ju asked curiously. "No, although the liger beast also has a lion's head and a tiger's head, the two heads are together. However, the strength of this demonic beast is not weak. Its cultivation should have reached the true demon stage." Xiaolingyu shook his head and said, "The restriction behind it should be a top-quality demonic formation." Song-ju added, "Are we almost there?" Xiaolingyu asked. "No, we have only walked less than a third of the way." Song-ju shook his head and said, Chapter 234. First Master, can you tell what realm it is exactly? Song-ju asked Xiaolingyu. "It's almost at the peak of the middle stage of the true demon realm," Xiaolingyu said with certainty. In fact, he really couldn't tell the specific cultivation level of the liger, but he felt that it was at least one level higher than him. But even if he couldn't see it accurately, Xiaolingyu could vaguely sense it. Moreover, he couldn't tell Song-ju that he couldn't see it. Otherwise, his true cultivation level would be exposed, and the deterrence he had on Song-ju would weaken. Being able to tell that the liger's cultivation level was at the peak of the middle stage of the true demon realm was equivalent to telling Song-ju that Xiaolingyu's cultivation was above it. Song-ju wouldn't dare to be disloyal and would be more respectful to him in the future. Song-ju asked that question to test Xiaolingyu's strength. Hearing that Xiaolingyu could see the cultivation level of the magical beast, Song-ju was slightly relieved. Therefore, Song-ju boldly took a step forward. Roar! Song-ju only took a step forward, and the liger immediately stood up. The liger let out an angry roar, as if warning Xiaolingyu and Xiaolingyu not to take half a step forward. This roar came too suddenly, causing Song-ju, who wasn't very confident, to immediately take 2 steps back and stand behind Xiaolingyu. Xiaolingyu, on the other hand, took a step forward fearlessly. His fingers were constantly moving, and a circle of yin-yang fish seal formed by chaos magic power gradually appeared. Xiaolingyu's aura was also constantly rising. Xiaolingyu's cultivation level was comparable to the early stage of the true demon realm, but his cultivation level was definitely higher than any other true demon expert, and his cultivation level was definitely not inferior to any middle-stage true demon cultivator. Roar! After being provoked by Xiaolingyu, the magical beast let out another angry roar, and its 4 hooves suddenly stomped on the ground. Its body was like an arrow released from a bow, and it flew towards Xiaolingyu. Xiaolingyu sneered coldly, and his arms suddenly pushed out, and the circle of chaos seal whizzed out. The passage was only so big, and the circle of yin-yang fish seal almost completely sealed the front. The magical beast couldn't dodge at all, and even if it retreated, it couldn't dodge. After all, there was a top-grade magic seal behind it. But what Xiaolingyu didn't expect was that the Liger magical beast didn't retreat, nor did it dodge. Instead, it stretched out its 2 front claws, and its whole body was suddenly wrapped in a cone-shaped light shield. The tip of the cone was its 2 front claws. The Liger's front paws quickly met the yin-yang chaos seal, but at that moment, the Liger's front paws tore the seal. The Liger magical beast passed through the chaos seal without any damage, and in the blink of an eye, it was in front of Xiaolingyu, and the energy shield wrapped around its body broke free and fiercely hit Xiaolingyu's chest. Xiaolingyu didn't expect the other party to break the chaos seal so easily, so he was caught off guard and was hit. His body was pushed dozens of feet away, and he smashed into the twisted stone wall, and his whole body was in pain. Beast, you're courting death! Roar! The Liger magical beast originally wanted to expand its victory, but just as it was about to pounce on Xiaolingyu again, Songju hurriedly threw out his devil wheel. The Liger magical beast didn't have any energy defense, so it didn't dare to take the high-grade magic tool's attack head-on. It stopped, opened its mouth, and spat out a dark red beam, which actually sent the high-grade magic tool's devil wheel flying. Xiaolingyu took the opportunity to stabilize his body, and spat out 2 mouthfuls of blood, while Songju tried his best to recall his devil wheel. However, the Liger magical beast's body swayed, and it actually split into 2, one Liger-shaped magical beast, and the other tiger-shaped magical beast. They attacked Xiaolingyu and Songju separately. What was surprising was that even though they had split into 2, their strength was still the same as before. In other words, their strength had doubled after they had split. Songju suddenly felt a headache coming on, but Xiaolingyu's expression didn't change, and he didn't feel the slightest bit of fear because of the attack and the opponent's devil wheel. Brother Tsang, you just need to hold on for a while. After Xiaolingyu instructed, a circle of chaos seal appeared in front of him, and it blasted towards the Liger that was charging towards him. Then, he held the silver moon broken blade in his hand. Just like last time, the Liger-shaped magical beast's body tore apart the chaos seal, and the sharp awl left the magical beast's body, and stabbed towards Xiaolingyu. Xiaolingyu smiled coldly, and the silver moon broken blade in his hand suddenly slashed forward. Although Xiaolingyu still couldn't unleash the power of a divine weapon, just the sharpness and toughness of a divine weapon in Xiaolingyu's hands were enough to easily destroy any demonic treasure of the highest grade. The sharp awl of energy naturally couldn't block the silver moon broken blade's slash, and it was instantly split in half, and the 2 dark red energies brushed past Xiaolingyu. Xiaolingyu didn't stop for a moment, and a pair of silver wings appeared on his back. His body swayed, and he appeared beside the Liger-shaped magical beast. Like Xiaolingyu before, the magical beast didn't expect its attack to be broken so easily, and it couldn't form any effective defense in a hurry, and could only use its front claws to block the silver moon broken blade's attack. The Liger-shaped magical beast's strength wasn't weak, but its front claws couldn't block the attack of a divine weapon even if they were supported by power. The silver moon broken blade cut through the magical beast's front claws like tofu, and very easily cut off one of its front claws. Having suffered such a heavy injury, the liger-shaped magical beast immediately let out a miserable cry, and then, as fresh blood spurted out, its body swayed, and it merged with the liger-shaped magical beast. After merging into one, the liger-shaped magical beast's injury disappeared, and its 4 thick legs were all intact, without any scars. However, the pool of blood on the ground and the bloodstains on the stone wall proved that it was indeed injured just now. Just now, Songju was only focused on blocking, and he managed to defend against 2 of the liger-shaped magical beast's attacks. However, if it wasn't for Xiaolingyu quickly gaining the upper hand, Songju didn't know how many more attacks he could have blocked. Only then did the liger-shaped magical beast realize the strength of the newcomers. It stared at the broken blade that severely injured it just now, and in its heart, it already knew that it couldn't deal with these 2 human cultivators who disturbed its beautiful dream. Therefore, before the 2 of them attacked again, the liger-shaped magical beast let out a roar that had a certain meaning. The roar wasn't very loud, but it was able to surge in all directions and spread very far. Oh no, it's calling for other magical beasts. Although Xiaolingyu didn't know much about the liger-shaped magical beast, he had interacted with many magical beasts for many years, and could determine the meaning of the roar. He immediately became nervous. Xiaolingyu did not hesitate any longer. Since the other party was asking for help, it meant that they were not confident enough. Therefore, Xiaolingyu held the silver moon broken blade and rushed over. With a light flap of the silver wings, Xiaolingyu moved horizontally in front of the liger-shaped magical beast. The silver moon broken blade also shone with a cold light as it slashed towards the liger-shaped magical beast. The tunnel was only so big, and although the liger-shaped magical beast wasn't huge, it was definitely not small either. The width of its body alone already took up more than half of the tunnel's width. This tunnel was a little narrow for the liger-shaped magical beast, and it was very difficult for it to use its abilities. It was even more difficult for it to dodge Xiaolingyu's attack, whose speed wasn't any slower than its own. The liger-shaped magical beast could only cast a circle of energy around its body and use it to withstand the attack while waiting for reinforcements. Unfortunately, the liger-shaped magical beast still underestimated the sharpness of the silver moon broken blade and Xiaolingyu's strength. Every time the silver moon broken blade struck, it could easily tear apart its defensive barrier and leave a deep wound on its body. As its flesh was cut open, blood naturally splattered everywhere, but it was blocked by the new defensive barrier and dyed its entire body red. Xiaolingyu was worried that it would be ganged up on by the other magical beasts, so she was extremely fast and merciless. In just a few breaths, the liger-shaped magical beast collapsed and died on the spot due to its severe injuries. Just as the liger-shaped magical beast died, there were roars of magical beasts coming from behind, and a powerful aura had already surged over. Although the liger-shaped magical beast had fallen, there was still a supreme-grade magical seal in front of her. If she still used the forbidden devouring bugs to gnaw at the seal, it would take a long time to break it, not to mention whether the supreme-grade magical seal could be destroyed. Therefore, Xiaolingyu didn't wait for the forbidden devouring bugs. After putting away the liger-shaped magical beast's body, she swung the silver moon broken blade and slashed at the seal. The seal would counterattack, but Xiaolingyu chose to take it head-on. This supreme-grade magical seal had existed for many years, and its power was no longer as powerful as it used to be. Its counterattack happened to be close to the attack of a supreme-grade magical weapon, so Xiaolingyu's body could take it head-on. However, when Xiaolingyu broke the seal, a few magical beasts had already rushed over. Xiaolingyu led Songju over the destroyed seal and fled forward at full speed, but the magical beasts were not slow either, and they kept following closely behind. They advanced at full speed, but after a few minutes, another seal blocked their way, but it was not a supreme-grade magical seal. Xiaolingyu only needed to swing the silver moon broken blade once, and the seal would break. However, even if it was only a short delay, it was still a delay, and the magical beasts gradually closed the distance between them and the 2 of them. The most troublesome thing was that after passing through a few more seals, Xiaolingyu and Songju encountered another supreme-grade magical seal, and in front of that seal, there was a powerful magical beast blocking it. Xiaolingyu suddenly fell into an awkward situation. The magical beast in front had already stood up and stared at them with an unfriendly expression, while the 5 or 6 magical beasts behind it slowed down and slowly approached. "Rush over, we have the seal behind us!" Xiaolingyu shouted and rushed forward quickly. The magical beast did not understand Xiaolingyu and Songju's intention and also rushed to meet them. When Xiaolingyu was about to meet the magical beast, she suddenly flashed to the side of the wall, and then directly rushed to stand in front of the seal, while Songju rushed from the other side. Chapter 235. There were a total of 7 demonic beasts on the other side. After them, there would definitely be more demonic beasts rushing over. Although Xiaolingyu could easily break the supreme-grade demonic seal at the back, as long as he dared to make a move, those demonic beasts would definitely pounce over. With Songju's strength, it was impossible for him to stop those demonic beasts and delay them for a while. Xiaolingyu judged the situation and handed the divine artifact silver needle to Songju. He said, "Use this treasure to break the seal at the back. I'll block them." This is? After receiving the silver needle, Songju felt that there was nothing special about it and asked curiously, "Don't worry, just use it. It's enough to break this seal," Xiaolingyu said in a deep voice. Songju didn't ask any further. The situation was too dangerous and he couldn't deal with it at all. He could only choose to trust Xiaolingyu unconditionally. However, Songju wasn't an ignorant person. Since Xiaolingyu was so sure that the silver needle could break the supreme-grade demonic seal, he naturally had doubts in his heart. Could it be a divine artifact? Just as he had this thought, Songju shook his head and thought to himself, "It shouldn't be a divine artifact. Divine artifacts aren't stones that can be seen everywhere on the road. Only experts who have reached the peak of the demonic realm can have a divine artifact. Although this leader isn't a mediocre person, he definitely hasn't even reached the spirit demon realm. How can he have a divine artifact? This must be a special magic treasure." Xiaolingyu could guess what Songju was thinking, but he couldn't care so much at this time. He still held the silver moon-broken sword and narrowed his eyes to look at the 7 demonic beasts that would pounce over at any time. It seemed like there were 7 demonic beasts, but Xiaolingyu knew that there should be 8 demonic beasts on the other side. Although that demonic beast was hidden, it had been staring at Xiaolingyu. The dangerous aura it released would be sensed by Xiaolingyu. Xiaolingyu didn't care about the 7 demonic beasts in front of her because their strength was in the true demon realm. The strongest was in the late true demon realm. Xiaolingyu was only in the early true demon realm, but even if he couldn't do anything to a late true demon beast, the late true demon beast couldn't do anything to him either. After all, a beast's god art wasn't very powerful and they couldn't use magic artifact. It was just that their bodies were a bit stronger. To Xiaolingyu, having a strong body was not an advantage at all. However, the magical beast that was hiding in the dark was the existence that Xiaolingyu was most afraid of because it had injured Xiaolingyu before. Xiaolingyu had reason to believe that it was either a spirit demon or a late true demon with a special ability. Because of his fear, Xiaolingyu was especially careful. His consciousness also surged out at full force, carefully searching the surrounding space. Xiaolingyu, whose eyes were already blooming with divine light, used about 10 breaths of time to finally find the hidden magical beast. However, he was a little apprehensive. Under the scan of Xiaolingyu's consciousness, the magical beast's body was illusory like as if it was just an illusion. This wasn't what made Xiaolingyu's hair stand on end. What surprised Xiaolingyu the most was that the magical beast had a human form, but it had a snake-like face that Xiaolingyu thought was a little twisted. Moreover, its long hair danced in the wind, but in the process, it turned into slender snakes that flicked their tongues. Apart from this, the other physical characteristics of this magical beast were actually no different from a human woman. She wore a purple muslin dress, had a tall and slender figure, slightly protruding chest, and when the muslin dress fluttered in the wind, faintly revealed long white legs. If this magical beast appeared on Earth, it would definitely be treated as a demon ghost. Timid people would definitely faint when they saw it. It just stood there quietly in a corner, a pair of bloodthirsty triangular snake eyes staring intently at Xiaolingyu. Its body remained illusory, giving off an unusually terrifying feeling. Even Xiaolingyu, a cultivator who had experienced countless storms, couldn't help but feel his scalp tingle. That magical beast seemed to feel Xiaolingyu's gaze. Its body swayed, and it disappeared from Xiaolingyu's sight. Xiaolingyu needed 10 breaths of time to find the magical beast. It was impossible to lock onto the magical beast. Moreover, if they were in a battle, how would he have 10 breaths of time to search for the magical beast's figure? Moreover, the magical beast was standing still, which was why he could find it. If the magical beast kept moving, he wouldn't be able to find it. Just based on the fact that he couldn't find the magical beast, Xiaolingyu knew that he couldn't defeat the magical beast. If he fought with it, he could only passively defend. The 7 magical beasts that could be seen didn't give Xiaolingyu too much time. Seeing that Songju had begun to break the restriction, they roared together and rushed over, as if the meaning of their existence was to protect these restrictions. Xiaolingyu came back to his senses and stood behind Songju, motionless. The silver moon broken blade in his hand shone with a dazzling cold light. A magical beast that looked like a wild wolf pounced over, but it was swept by a cold light, and the wolf's head was cut in two. A magical beast that looked like a yak was stomping towards them. The cold light flashed again, and the yak's hooves were chopped off, blood splattering in all directions. Any magical beast below the late stage of true demon would be injured by the silver moon broken blade in one round if they dared to come close. Xiaolingyu's realm was not low, his attack speed was extremely fast, and his hit rate was extremely high. Xiaolingyu had interacted with magical beasts many times, after all, and understood many magical beasts. He knew where their flaws and weaknesses were when they attacked. After a round of attacks, only the late-stage true demon beast was not injured, but it also dodged quickly. At this time, it was still a little fearful of the silver moon broken blade's might. Songju hid behind Xiaolingyu, constantly using the silver needles in his hand to break the restrictions. The speed of breaking the restrictions was slower. He didn't dare to be as bold as Xiaolingyu, because he couldn't withstand the counterattack of a top-grade magical restriction. Xiaolingyu was still standing in the same place, not moving from beginning to end, and his attention was also highly concentrated, not daring to slack off in the slightest. The magical beast that had been hiding still hadn't shown itself to attack, but its aura had been locked onto Xiaolingyu, as if it was looking for the best time to attack, or it had been deterred by Xiaolingyu's strength. The reason why Xiaolingyu hurt the magical beasts every time he attacked was to make the powerful magical beast that was good at hiding not dare to act rashly. However, when the late-stage true demon beast brought the other 6 injured magical beasts over, Xiaolingyu had just swung the silver moon broken blade when a gust of wind attacked from the left. The silver moon broken blade was in Xiaolingyu's right hand, and it had been fiercely swung out, so it was impossible to withdraw it now. Xiaolingyu didn't withdraw the silver moon broken blade, but 6 sacred rays of light shot out from his body. The 6 rays of light connected into a line, forming a sacred light sword. The sacred aura that overflowed from it made all the magical beasts that came close to it stagnate. For demonic cultivators and magical beasts, the sacred aura was the aura they hated the most, because this aura had an extremely strong suppression on their cultivation, and it would also make their soul tremble. Under normal circumstances, demonic cultivators wouldn't be able to have a magic treasure with sacred aura, and even if they did, they wouldn't be able to refine it. Even if they refined it, they wouldn't be able to use it normally. A high-level sacred magic treasure appearing in a battle in the demonic realm was even rarer than a divine weapon appearing in a battle in the demonic realm. But this kind of thing that only happened once in 100 million years had appeared today. The magical beast in human form also didn't expect this. It had already calculated the timing, and if it attacked at this time, the opponent would definitely be injured, but it never thought that the opponent would have a follow-up move. The sacred light sword appeared too suddenly, and no matter how miraculous the magical beast in human form was, it couldn't dodge, and its body was directly penetrated by the light sword. Gee! The magical beast let out a strange scream, and the place where the sacred light sword penetrated its illusory body, a transparent hole that kept expanding appeared. There was no blood spurting out, but no matter how it shook its body, it couldn't hide again. Furthermore, after the divine light sword pierced through the demonic beast, it dispersed and turned into 6 divine light beads. It was preparing to seal the demonic beast. But to Shaolin Yu's surprise, just as the 6 sacred pearls appeared, the magical beast in human form turned into a gust of wind, and disappeared without a trace in a flash. The 6 demon-suppressing immortal pearls were called back by Shaolin Yu, and began to bombard the magical beast. In just one wave of bombardment, 3 of the 7 magical beasts died, and the other 4 fled in fear. Shaolin Yu put away the demon-suppressing immortal pearls, and waited for a while before turning around, and used the silver moon broken blade in his hand to help Song-ju break through the seal. When the demon-suppressing immortal pearls appeared, Song-ju was also shocked. At this time, he didn't understand how this leader had a sacred treasure, and the grade was very high. However, Song-ju was also a smart person, and knew what to ask and what not to ask, so he forced himself to calm down and didn't say anything more. When the seal was broken, he very obediently returned the silver needle to Shaolin Yu. Up until now, Shaolin Yu had used almost all of his means. His strength was also on full display. Of course, this was under normal circumstances. If he were to go all out, he should be able to be even stronger. After breaking more than 10 high-grade and 1 extreme-grade demon seal, and killing a magical beast in the middle stage of true demon, Song-ju said to Shaolin Yu that they were close to the target. After another 1,000 feet, Shaolin Yu saw an altar-like building, and at the top of the building, there was a box that seemed to be completely made of black iron floating. "We're here, the treasure is in that box." Song-ju pointed at the box and said excitedly. At the same time, he secretly rejoiced in his heart that he came with Shaolin Yu. If he came alone, it would be impossible to come here. Chapter 236. After Song-ju heard Shaolin Yu's reminder, he shifted his gaze from the box to the altar. The altar was about 10 feet high. It was in the shape of a vertical rectangle. There were more than 30 stone steps in front of the 2 people. However, each step was engraved with mysterious spell patterns. Shaolin Yu was referring to this place when he said that it was strange. Song-ju looked at it carefully and said, "There should be a big problem with those incantations, but this altar is not very high. We don't have to walk up the stone step. We can just fly up." Shaolin Yu did not say anything. Instead, he walked closer to the altar and stared at a line of words engraved on the other side of the altar. The general meaning of that line of words was that if the cultivator could walk up the steps and reach the top of the altar, the black iron box would automatically open. If the cultivator did not walk up the stone steps, he could fly up, but he needed the corresponding key to open it. And the key was on one of the demonic beasts. Shaolin Yu and Shaolin Yu did not have the key, and they did not know which demonic beast had the key. They could not possibly kill all the demonic beasts to find the key. It seems like we still have to walk up step by step," Song-ju said helplessly after reading the small words. "That might not be the case," Shaolin Yu said non-committally. Shaolin Yu flew up and stared at the not-so-big box for a while with a smile on his face. The quality of this black iron box was comparable to that of a top-grade demonic weapon. Even without the key, Shaolin Yu could cut it open with his silver moon-broken sword. Even if the treasure inside was damaged because of the strong slash, Xiaolingyu would not take the risk to walk up the steps or find the demonic beasts to snatch the key. At least he would not lose too much if he did not get the treasure. However, Xiaolingyu's smile suddenly froze and he turned around abruptly. In the direction where the two of them came from, the human-shaped demonic beast appeared again. The hole in its body had completely healed, but its expression was more ferocious than before. After exchanging a glance with Xiaolingyu, the humanoid magical beast disappeared in a flash. In the next moment, a strong gust of wind attacked Songju, who was standing below. That demonic beast actually wanted to kill Songju first. It actually knew that it should be easy first and difficult second. Xiaolingyu snorted coldly. A seal of chaos whizzed out and blasted towards Songju. Although the magical beast seemed to be unscathed, it was definitely not completely unharmed after being pierced through by the divine light sword. The human-shaped demonic beast did not dare to take Xiaolingyu's seal of chaos head-on. It dodged the attack and Xiaolingyu landed beside Songju. The 6 demon-suppressing immortal orbs appeared once again. Although they did not form a divine light sword, they still made the illusory magical beast not dare to continue attacking. Instead, it hid itself again. This kind of magical beast was good at looking for opportunities to attack instead of fighting head-on, especially when it was disadvantageous to them. Xiaolingyu guessed that the magical beast appeared here to prevent them from touching the box. Therefore, he did not look for the magical beast. Instead, he flew up again with Songju and slashed at the black iron box with the silver moon broken blade. The magical beast seemed to be very confident in the defense of the black iron box and did not come out to stop them. However, after a sharp clang sound, the seemingly sturdy black metal box was split into 2. Songju originally felt that they should not break the box so violently. However, he did not have a better idea or suggestion, so he did not say anything. Gee! As soon as the box was broken, the hidden magical beast let out a loud cry. Its body appeared beside the box. Its long hair turned into a long snake and surrounded Xiaolingyu. Just as Xiaolingyu was about to break the box, the magical beast used a superb concealment technique to sneak to the side. Seeing that the box was broken, it could not help but reveal itself to attack. Xiaolingyu was already prepared. The 6 demon-suppressing immortal orbs whizzed out again. However, they did not form a divine light sword to attack. Instead, they surrounded the magical beast's head and cast a divine light screen to seal the magical beast. The human-shaped illusory magical beast kept hitting the divine light screen with an extremely angry look. However, its attacks had no effect on the divine light screen. Instead, it caused the 6 demon-suppressing immortal orbs to continuously release divine light to bombard its body. After sealing the magical beast, Xiaolingyu calmed down and looked at the top of the altar. After the black metal box was broken open, a palm-sized jade slip was revealed. However, although the jade slip did not withstand the attack of the silver moon broken blade, it was still damaged when the box exploded. Its surface was already covered with cracks, and it looked like it could break apart at any time. Xiaolingyu guessed that the jade slip must contain extraordinary content. However, he did not touch it for fear that it would break apart. Instead, he immersed his consciousness into it. Just as Xiaolingyu's consciousness entered the jade slip suddenly cracked. The content engraved in the jade slip was also split into dozens of pieces. However, Xiaolingyu forcefully gathered them together and kept them in his soul memory. However, what made Xiaolingyu helpless was that it was extremely difficult for him to put the disordered content together. Xiaolingyu was not in a hurry to put it together. Instead, he turned around and looked at the trapped magical beast. Under the bombardment of the demon-suppressing immortal orb, the magical beast was no longer in its human form. Instead, it had turned into a small snake covered in wounds. It still looked like it was on its last breath. However, it was no longer in an illusory state. Xiaolingyu did not have any pity. He used his consciousness to control the demon-suppressing immortal orb to continue attacking until the magical beast was completely destroyed. His strength had increased by a lot. Under Shaolin Yu's control, the demon-suppressing immortal orb's power had increased by a lot. Even if his cultivation had been demonized, the primal chaos energy was still origin energy. Shaolin Yu could control any type of magic treasure. Moreover, the demon-suppressing immortal orb's divine aura did not have much effect on him. After putting away the demon-suppressing immortal orb, Shaolin Yu put the small snake into the spirit beast pouch. Together with the magical beast he had killed before, he gave it to the strange cub with the primal chaos energy. The cultivators and magical beasts of the devil realm could rely on devouring the energy of other cultivators or magical beasts to increase their cultivation. The strange cub was no exception. Leader, the jade slip is broken. What did you see? Song Ju asked curiously. The things recorded are very messy. However, don't worry. Once I've sorted it out, I will definitely share it with you. Shaolin Yu said with a smile. Leader, don't misunderstand. I didn't mean to be greedy for the content inside. I just thought that it would be a pity if the content inside disappeared. After all, we took a lot of risks to come here. Song Ju said with a dry smile. It's not too dangerous. Even that strange demonic beast was only at the peak of the late true demon realm. It wasn't at the spirit demon realm. If it was at the spirit demon realm, the two of us would probably die here. After Shaolin Yu said this, he walked back the way he came, but just after 2 steps, he asked again, there should be only one place where the treasure is hidden, right? Song Ju was stunned for a moment, then he said with certainty, there is only one place. The reason why Song Ju was stunned was not because he was thinking about how to answer, but because he was thinking about Shaolin Yu's previous words. The magical beast that could transform into a phantom was at the peak of true demon late stage. Even with such cultivation, it was not the opponent of the leader. Moreover, it was almost obliterated without hurting the leader. Then what is the strength of the leader? If the leader was at the spirit demon stage, then why did he say that he would die here if he encountered a true demon stage magical beast? In fact, if it weren't for the divine tool in his hand, if it weren't for the quality of his body that was close to the best quality demon tool, and if it weren't for the 6 demon-suppressing immortal orbs that were extremely powerful against the existence of the demon path, Shaolin Yu wouldn't have such a strong lethality with his chaos power, chaos seal, and chaos true fire. On the way back, although there were some magical beasts that didn't open their eyes to stop them, but the magical beast's strength was relatively weak. The restrictions on the way were broken, so Shaolin Yu only took a cup of tea's time to get out of the giant statue's nose. The Demon Scorpion Valley has been cleaned up by the cultivators of the Heavenly Bandits, but there was nothing added. The bandits each chose a cave at the foot of the mountain to cultivate. After Shaolin Yu came out, Zhu Jin and the other 2 Demon King middle-stage bandit leaders came up to them and happily reported the harvest of the Demon Scorpion sect. The profit of the Demon Stones was a total of 1 million medium-grade Demon Stones, and several thousand high-grade Demon Stones. For a sect like the Demon Scorpion sect, being able to collect so many Demon Stones while cultivating their disciples and Demon Scorpions was already very good. In addition to the Demon Stones, there were also hundreds of Demon Scorpions, as well as a lot of materials. All in all, this robbery was very successful, but this time it wasn't a robbery, it was more like a sect extermination. This time, the Heavenly Bandits really tasted the sweetness of a large-scale operation. Once they tasted the sweetness of this operation, they were afraid that in the future, it would be like a flood that broke through the dam. This kind of thing was addictive, and Shaolin Yu made them addicted. Shaolin Yu called several Demon King realm experts together. First, he introduced Song Ju to everyone. Then, he discussed the matter of this operation with everyone. After that, he got up and left. But before leaving, Shaolin Yu said to Song Ju, I will need some time to sort out the contents of the jade slip. Once I understand it, I will definitely tell you. After more than a day, Xiaoling Yu returned to the East Pole Demon Sect and returned to the Valley of the Imperial Beast Hall. The Imperial Beast Hall was still the same, but when Xiaoling Yu returned, he discovered that Miao Yan, who had been recuperating in seclusion, had come out and was chatting happily with Wang Tai and Hao Ren. Seeing Xiaoling Yu return, Wang Tai and Hao Ren welcomed him with smiles. Miao Yan, on the other hand, seemed a little embarrassed. He only nodded as a greeting and then left on his own. "Thank you for your help these past few days," Xiaoling Yu said politely. "Haha, this is nothing. But hurry up and tell us about the situation outside," Hao Ren said with a smile. Chapter 237. After briefly explaining the situation outside, Xiaoling Yu suddenly said, "That Miao Yan seems to be very nice to you. When I first came here, he wasn't so polite." Wang Tai and Hao Ren didn't know that Xiaoling Yu and Miao Yan had a grudge against each other, so Hao Ren immediately said, "He is much older than us in the Imperial Beast Hall, so he can be considered a senior. He came to give us some tips on feeding young beasts and impart some experience." "Didn't he say anything else?" Xiaoling Yu asked curiously. "He did say something else, but you have to tell me first. When you first came here, how was he rude?" Hao Ren said, unwilling to suffer a loss. "That's all in the past. Although there were some small conflicts, none of us took it to heart. Let's not talk about unhappy things. I saw that you were chatting happily, so you must have talked about happy things, right?" Xiaoling Yu said perfunctorily, then asked. It's a happy thing. He told us that he could help us find a backer in the sect, so that we won't be bullied in the future." Wang Tai didn't have much of a schemer and said truthfully. "So, you are looking for a backer?" Xiaoling Yu fiercely despised Miao Yan in his heart. He secretly thought that the guy was helping to find a backer to win over Wang Tai and Hao Ren. His face was full of smiles as he said, "So, did he find a backer for you?" According to him, he found one. He said that he would invite the person to come and see us in a few days. He also said that the backer is very strong and very popular in the sect. As long as we rely on him, it won't be long before we can enter the sect. Moreover, we will be accepted as disciples by the sect's experts. Hao Ren didn't hide anything. "Brother Xiao, do you want to join us and rely on that expert?" Wang Tai asked kindly. Xiaoling Yu secretly laughed. He didn't need to look to know who Miao Yan's backer was. It must be that little Feng Yu. However, he didn't reveal anything and said in a low voice, "Actually, I already have a backer. It's the steward of our Imperial Beast Hall. The steward is in the heavenly demon realm. He shouldn't be considered an expert in the sect, right?" Hao Ren lowered his voice and asked in surprise. Although the steward's realm isn't very high, he has the support of the sect master. Otherwise, how could he get such a lucrative job as the steward of the Imperial Beast Hall? Xiaoling Yu said with a chuckle. In her heart, she was thinking, the backer that Miao Yan found for you is even weaker than the steward. After some time of observation and inquiry, Xiaoling Yu found out that there were not many Demon King stage experts within the East Demon sect. There were only around 10 plus of them. Only these Demon King stage cultivators could be considered as experts within the East Demon sect. Only they had the qualifications to accept disciples. The East Demon sect had true demon experts, and there should be 5 or 6 of them. Xiaoling Yu learned this from the information provided by the Mountain Bandit. As for the specific strength of the 5 or 6 true demon experts, the Mountain Bandits couldn't inquire about it. Xiaoling Yu also didn't dare to ask the old steward. As for whether the East Demon sect had Spirit Demon Realm experts, it was even more unknown. However, there was an unwritten rule in the Blood Moon continent, that is, to be classified as a third-rate sect, there must be at least one Spirit Demon Realm expert. The cultivators in the nearby cultivation world know that East Pole Demon Sect is a third-rate sect, so it can be inferred that East Pole Demon Sect has a Spirit Demon expert. Xiaoling Yu had also inquired before. The East Pole Demon Sect had only been classified as a third-rate sect more than 200,000 years ago. It must have been at that time that a late-stage true demon cultivator of the East Pole Demon Sect had advanced to the early-stage spirit demon. After 200,000 years of cultivation, if the aptitude of the East Demon Sect was average, then the strongest person in the East Demon Sect would still be in the spirit demon early stage. Even if the aptitude was high, it was estimated that the strongest person in the East Demon Sect would be in the spirit demon intermediate stage. Xiaoling Yu was not afraid of the true demon realm magical beast that had been trapped for many years, but if it was a true demon late-stage cultivator who had a magical treasure and was good at fighting, then it may not be easy to win. If it was a real spirit demon expert, there was almost no chance of winning. In your opinion, what should we do? Hao Ren, who was more shrewd, asked. It's obvious, don't you know what to do? Xiaoling Yu did not answer and asked and then said, I can remind you that whether you can enter the sect or not, in fact, it depends on the steward's intention. Others can't decide, unless it is the sect master of the true devil stage. These two people had just arrived at the East Demon Sect. How could they know a true demon realm expert? Seeing that both of them showed a look of understanding, Xiaoling Yu said again, I just went out and had a little understanding, so I want to go into seclusion for a while. Can you two help me share the feeding of the more than 1,000 young beasts? Of course, I will come out of seclusion in 2 or 3 months at most, so it won't be too tiring for you two. Brother Xiao, what are you talking about? You can rest assured, the two of us can still handle it. King Tai replied very simply. Hao Ren also nodded in agreement. Xiaoling Yu smiled with satisfaction, but quietly took out 2 storage bags and stuffed them into the hands of the two people, then quickly returned to his house and went into seclusion in the secret room. He didn't need to greet the hunchbacked old steward, because the old steward regarded him as one of his own and certainly wouldn't have any objection. After all, he was in seclusion and not out. Hao Ren and King Tai sank their thoughts into their respective spirit beast bags, and then their complexions changed greatly, because there were more than 1,000 middle-grade magic stones in the spirit beast bags. Both Hao Ren and King Tai were Mahayana realm ascendants, so they also brought some magic stones when they ascended, but they didn't exceed 200 middle-grade magic stones. Now they had more than 1,000 middle-grade magic stones in just 2 or 3 months' time. It was absolutely a big profit. The two people hurriedly put away the storage bags, and looked around as if they had a guilty conscience. They were a little relieved when they saw that there was no one around. After looking at each other, they tacitly acted as if nothing had happened, and continued to chat as if nothing had happened. Only an idiot would brag about it after getting benefit. Even an honest and upright person like King Tai wouldn't do that. As Xiaoling Yu expected, the hunchbacked old steward asked Hao Ren and Wang Tai about Xiaoling Yu when he was inspecting the valley. The old steward didn't have the slightest expression after the two people told him the truth, and only told them to take good care of the young beast. This made Hao Ren and King Tai even more convinced that the old steward was indeed Xiaoling Yu's backer. With the old steward as their backer, their days in the Imperial Beast Hall would naturally be very comfortable. This made the two people a little bit excited. After all, they would be staying here for a long time. 5 days after Xiaoling Yu's seclusion, Fang Yu came to the Imperial Beast Hall, nominally to see if there were any suitable magical beasts, but in fact, he was invited by Miao Yan to accept Hao Ren and King Tai's allegiance. However, Fang Yu hadn't expected that Hao Ren and King Tai wouldn't have the slightest expression after seeing him. Even though Miao Yan winked at them, these two people only appeared to be very respectful on the surface, and didn't say a single word of allegiance. This made Fang Yu very angry, but this was the territory of the hunchbacked old man, and he didn't dare to behave atrociously here. So, he could only leave in a huff, and secretly vowed to teach these two people a painful lesson. The hunchbacked old steward was also a shrewd person. He had been keeping an eye on Fang Yu's arrival, and was very satisfied with Hao Rin and King Tai's reaction. So, he called the two people to his side and chatted for a while. Only the three of them knew the specific content of their conversation. However, King Tai's and Hao Ren's attitude towards Miao Yen had changed a lot since that chat. They were no longer as polite as before, and had been feigning civility all along. Miao Yen didn't know that King Tai and Hao Ren had talked with the old steward, so he attributed the change in their attitude to Xiaolingyu. He also blamed Xiaolingyu for the reason why these two people didn't pledge allegiance to Feng Yu. Therefore, his hatred towards Xiaolingyu deepened, and he transmitted his speculations to Feng Yu. After 3 months of closed-door cultivation, Xiaolingyu finally came out. However, when others came out of closed-door cultivation, they were full of energy and their eyes were shining. However, Xiaolingyu looked extremely tired. His eyes were bloodshot and even his footsteps were a little weak. Hao Rin and King Tai saw this, and came over to express their concern. They both thought that Xiaolingyu had encountered a problem in his cultivation. Xiaolingyu forced a wry smile, and said a few perfunctory words. Then, he began to feed more than 1,000 young beasts under his responsibility. The reason why he was so tired wasn't because he had encountered a problem in his cultivation. In fact, he hadn't been cultivating at all. Instead, he had been trying to piece the contents of the jade slip together. However, he couldn't complete this task even though his mind was very strong. That was because the contents of the jade slip were all self-contained. It didn't seem to have the slightest connection with each other. Xiaolingyu couldn't connect them together in a reasonable manner, no matter how hard he tried. Xiaolingyu couldn't help but feel a little regretful. He hadn't dared to break open the box by force. The jade slip wouldn't have shattered if he had let the black iron box open by itself, or if he had found the key to open it. Then, he wouldn't have had to spend so much effort to reassemble it. Naturally, regret was useless. After trying for 3 months, Xiaolingyu still hadn't found the slightest clue. The only thing he could be sure of was that the contents might indeed be a very powerful magic art. However, the contents were too profound, and it was very difficult to understand them alone. So, he decisively gave up on this task for the time being, and wanted to relax for a while. To Xiaolingyu's relief, the strange young beast with the chaotic force had already devoured all the energy in the corpses of the magical beasts he had sent into the spirit beast bag. Now, its body was wrapped in a black cocoon of magic power, and it had fallen into a state of deep sleep. If it woke up, its strength would surely be greatly improved. After all, those magical beasts had been in the true demon stage when they were alive. Chapter 238. Wang Tai and Hao Ren also told Xiaolingyu about Feng Yu's visit to the Imperial Beast Hall. Xiaolingyu just smiled and reminded them to be careful. They didn't expect that less than 3 days after Xiaolingyu reminded them, Feng Yu would come to the Imperial Beast Hall again. Moreover, he brought a middle-aged woman with him. When the old steward saw them, he called Xiaolingyu and the other 3 who were in charge of feeding the young beasts. Seeing that Feng Yu and the old steward were very polite and respectful to the woman, Xiaolingyu guessed that this woman should be an expert of the East Pole demon sect. After sweeping her with her mind, she found that the woman had the cultivation of the late stage of the Demon King realm. "I haven't been here for some time. Zhangde, your Imperial Beast Hall is still as orderly as before. The head of the Imperial Beast Hall didn't make a mistake in letting you take care of it," the woman said in a praising tone while walking casually in the valley. "Zhangde is just doing his duty. The Imperial Beast Hall can be so orderly because of the sect's good control," the hunchbacked old man calmly replied. "I've heard that a lot of things have happened in the Imperial Beast Hall in recent days. Not only have young and adult magical beasts rioted and caused losses, but some disciples have also died. There are so many things happening in such a big Imperial Beast Hall. You've suffered a lot," the woman said. "Master Lu, Zhangde is honored to be able to serve the sect. I don't feel tired." Zhangde replied naturally. It was as if he had said these words countless times, or had kept them in his heart for many years. Some time ago, the Imperial Beast Hall reported to the sect that they were short of manpower. Are they still short of manpower now? The woman nodded and asked. Master Lu, they are not short of manpower now, the hunchbacked old man replied. The woman stopped and looked at Xiao Lingyu, Miao Yen, Wang Tai and Hao Ren. She said, the Imperial Beast Hall usually only has 4 people. 3 are responsible for feeding young beasts and 1 is responsible for looking after the adult beasts. You have 5 people now. You really shouldn't be short of manpower. Martial Uncle Lu, you may not know this, but in recent years, the sect has been constantly sending in new young magical beasts and new adult magical beasts into the cages. However, the sect's experts' demand for magical beasts has decreased, so there are too many magical beasts left in the Imperial Beast Hall. The number of people needed to look after them is no longer the same as before, the old steward said reasonably. The old steward was very shrewd. He could guess that Master Lu came here under Fong Yu's persuasion. She said that the Imperial Beast Hall didn't lack of manpower. She meant that she wanted to take someone away. Master Lu didn't think too much. She probably wanted to take away Xiao Lingyu. Xiao Lingyu. And Wang Tai and Wang had just recently arrived. And didn't mind Zzzz had. Didn't think she wanted to take away Lingyu was. She wanted to take away. So, the old steward said that the Imperial Beast Hall didn't have enough manpower. Yes, most of the disciples in the sect have received beasts. Moreover, it's very difficult to cultivate one. So, they don't want to come and take more. So, the number of beasts in your Imperial Beast Hall is increasing. After all, we don't dare to recklessly absorb the magical power of these beasts. But we also don't sell them cheaply. The woman nodded in agreement. Then, she said in a seemingly kind manner, how about this? I'll leave Fong Yu here. He'll be your assistant. How about it? The old steward's complexion changed. He immediately said, you can't do that. Oh? Why not? The woman's complexion didn't change. Instead, she asked in a strange manner. Junior brother Fong is a heavenly demon stage disciple. He's also the leader of the younger generation of the sect. It's a waste of his talent to let him stay in the Imperial Beast Hall. Moreover, this transfer of personnel needs the consent of the sect master, the hunchbacked old man explained. Fong Yu, are you willing to stay in the Imperial Beast Hall for a while? The woman asked Fong Yu. Master, this disciple is willing, and I'll do my best to cooperate with Senior Brother Zhang to take care of these beasts. I'll listen to Senior Brother Zhang's arrangements, Fong Yu replied without thinking. As for the sect master, I can talk to him. I believe he'll definitely agree, the woman added. As long as Junior Brother Fong and the sect master have no objections, Zhang De is naturally willing to work with Junior Brother Fong. Zhang De had no choice but to agree. Although he was a hall steward, his cultivation wasn't at the Demon King stage. There were many things he couldn't say. Even if he had the sect master's support, he still had to be careful. However, the woman's tone suddenly changed. Fong Yu has always been taking care of things on my side. If I send him to the Imperial Beast Hall to help, I'll have one less disciple who can take care of trivial matters. Zhang De, you won't have any objections if I choose someone from your Imperial Beast Hall, right? Zhang De knew he had been forced into a trap. Although Martial Aunt Lu was very polite, she was actually bullying him. Although he was extremely dissatisfied, he could only say, if Martial Aunt Lu takes a fancy to someone, that's their fortune. How could Zhang De have any objections? There's no hurry to choose now. This matter still needs to be decided by the sect master. Let's go take a look elsewhere. After saying this, the woman wandered around the Imperial Beast Hall for a while, then left with Fong Yu. After the woman left, the old steward's face immediately darkened. He couldn't help but curse in his heart, bitch, you've gone too far. After sending Fong Yu off, The old steward's expression returned to normal. With a wave of his sleeve, he returned to his room. Xiaolingyu and the other three also dispersed. However, before entering the room, Miao Yan smiled sinisterly at Xiaolingyu's back and said in a low voice, "Let's see how long you can be proud of yourself." Xiaolingyu was not a fool. Even if he didn't use his feet to think, he could tell that the woman was most likely going to take him away. Then, she would definitely make things difficult for him in every possible way. She might even want to play him to death. However, Xiaolingyu was not afraid at all. If the woman really wanted to scheme against him, it would definitely be the stupidest choice she had made in countless years. The next day, Xiaolingyu was called to the old steward's room alone. "You should know why I called you here today, right?" The old steward still looked gloomy. "I can guess a little," Xiaolingyu said calmly. "If Martial Aunt Lu wants to take you away, what do you think?" The old steward asked straightforwardly. "I hope she can treat me like how you treat me," Xiaolingyu said sincerely. "Haha, your hope is a little extravagant. My Martial Aunt Lu doesn't have many other abilities, but she's best at confusing people and torturing disciples. Originally, there were 5 disciples under her. However, at present, only Feng Yu remains. If it wasn't for the fact that Feng Yu was handsome and knew how to please her, I reckon that he would have already been toyed to death by her," the old manager said with a bitter smile. Xiaolingyu was silent, but his brows were slightly furrowed. It was clear that he was a little displeased. "Sigh, her method of exchanging people is very clever. I reckon that the sect leader will most likely agree to her request. You have to prepare early. If there's a chance, I will chase Feng Yu away and exchange you back," the old steward said with a sigh. "Thank you for your care, sir," Xiaolingyu said noncommittally. "I know you have some ability, but I still have to advise you to endure more. As long as the Green Hills last, there's hope. Not only does my Martial Aunt Lu have a Devil King late-stage cultivation base, but the reason why she is so presumptuous in the sect and played many disciples to death is because she has a very deep background. Even the sect master won't easily touch her, and he hasn't even reprimanded her," the old steward kindly reminded. "Kid, remember." Xiaolingyu nodded, but in his heart, he was doubtful. Even the sect leader of the East Pole Devil Sect doesn't dare to ask. Could it be that the spirit demon expert is her backer? Sure enough, a few days later, the woman surnamed Lu and Feng Yu came to the Imperial Beast Hall. Before they came, the old steward had already received news from the sect's higher-ups, so he wasn't surprised at all. After a hypocritical exchange of pleasantries, Feng Yu stayed in the Imperial Beast Hall, while Xiaolingyu was taken away by the woman with a smile. Feng Yu and the old steward addressed each other as martial brothers. Although he was nominally an assistant to the old steward didn't really treat him as a servant. Naturally, Feng Yu's status was much higher than Miao Yan's group. With Feng Yu's arrival, Miao Yan's life would naturally become a lot better. However, Wang Tai and Hao Rin would be in a difficult situation. Xiaolingyu had previously reminded them to tightly hug the old steward's big tree. Xiaolingyu didn't want to follow the woman surnamed Lu, but this was the will of the East Pole Devil Sect's higher-ups, so he had to comply. Of course, he also wanted to see what kind of tricks this woman, a late Devil King, had. The biggest reason why Xiaolingyu followed her was because he wasn't afraid at all. In fact, Xiaolingyu just wanted to watch a good show. The woman surnamed Lu took Xiaolingyu away, which meant that Xiaolingyu had truly become a disciple of the East Pole Devil Sect and could call those heavenly demon cultivators brothers. If this happened to Wang Tai and Hao Rin, they would definitely think that they had hit the jackpot. The woman surnamed Lu's cultivation place was behind a water curtain in the east of the East Pole Devil Sect's encampment. The water curtain was actually a waterfall, but its scale wasn't very big, only a few 100 meters wide and 60 meters high. Behind the water curtain was an immortal's cave, where the woman surnamed Lu cultivated. It was said to be one of the best cultivation places in the East Pole Devil Sect. After being taken to the Immortal's Cave, Xiaolingyu felt that the demonic spiritual power here was 10 times richer than the Imperial Beast Hall's valley. He secretly thought that this woman really knew how to pick a place. The Immortal's Cave was not small, and there were dozens of secret rooms and storage rooms connected by several winding passages. The woman surnamed Lu took Xiaolingyu to the end of a passage and pointed to several secret rooms in front of them, saying, "You can cultivate here from now on. I'm tired today, so you can familiarize yourself with the surrounding environment." After saying that, the woman surnamed Lu twisted her waist and yawned as she left. Xiaolingyu didn't wander around. He casually pushed open the door of a secret room and went inside to meditate. Chapter 239. Woman Lu brought Xiaolingyu to a rather large secret room, which made Xiaolingyu feel quite baffled. This secret room shouldn't be a place for cultivators to cultivate. It was more like a high-end guest room. The interior was luxuriously decorated. There were exquisite crystal ornaments, carpets made from the fur of high-grade devil beasts, bright pearls that emitted warm radiance, and gorgeous furnaces that emitted fragrant mists. All of these made the entire room feel warm and cozy. However, what made Xiaolingyu frown was the content of the paintings on the walls that made people blush and their hearts beat faster. On the 4 walls, other than the portrait of a benevolent old man hanging in the middle of the main hall, the other 3 walls depicted scenes of men and women having sex. Moreover, the paintings were very lifelike, and their expressions were very lifelike. If there was a man and a woman in such a cozy room and they saw the pictures on the wall, they might really be aroused and go to the Wu Mountains to do it together. However, Xiaolingyu also heard that woman Lu wasn't a chaste woman. She was famous for her beauty in the sect, and almost all of the disciples who came under her tutelage had an affair with her. It was said that she cultivated the dual cultivation method and used yang to replenish her yin. Fang Yu's 4 senior martial brothers had their yang essence sucked dry by her and died. Originally, making a move on one's own disciple was considered incest. Moreover, making a move on one's own disciple was a great taboo in the sect. However, no one ever came to ask about this matter. In the East Pole Devil sect, very few male disciples were willing to become her disciple and didn't want to interact with her. Woman Lu naturally wouldn't make a move on someone else's disciple, so she could only make a move on her own disciple. Fang Yu was a smart person. While having an affair with his master, he was also able to preserve his yang essence. Therefore, he wasn't played to death. However, Fang Yu's method of preserving his yang essence wasn't honorable. Most of the time, he plotted against his fellow disciples and used vicious methods to steal their yang essence to make up for his loss. Woman Lu appeared to be 25 or 26 years old. Although she didn't look like a pure girl, she didn't look old either. She could be considered a young woman. Her features were picturesque, her eyes were watery, and every frown and smile of hers carried charm. After she brought Xiaolingyu over, she lazily lay down on a bed covered with soft magical beast fur. Her clothes were half undone, revealing a large area of white skin, immediately causing the atmosphere to become ambiguous. "You're Xiaolingyu, right?" Mrs. Lu asked. "Yes," Xiaolingyu said calmly. Although he wasn't afraid at all, this situation was unexpected. "Come over here and help me massage my shoulders. I don't know what's wrong with me recently, but my body has been very sore." The woman waved at Xiaolingyu. Xiaolingyu frowned slightly, but he didn't lift his leg. He wasn't afraid of fighting, and it wouldn't be considered a plot. After all, his true strength far exceeded that of a late-stage demon king. However, the current situation made him a little confused. He thought to himself, could it be that she wants to seduce me and then suck my yang essence dry? Why are you standing still? Could it be that you don't want to serve me? The woman asked with a face full of hidden bitterness. She looked like a little wife acting coquettishly. An invisible fluctuation emitted from her body and lingered around Xiaolingyu. This fluctuation was very obscure. If one's cultivation hadn't reached the true demon realm, it would be very difficult to notice. Xiaolingyu pretended not to notice and let the invisible fluctuation sweep over his body. He didn't use any power to resist it. The invisible fluctuation could ignore the body's defense and directly invade a cultivator's knowledge sea. It should be a kind of enchantment. It was useful for ordinary cultivators, but it had no effect on Xiaolingyu because his soul wasn't in his knowledge sea. However, Xiaolingyu didn't delay. He slowly walked to the side of the bed and circled behind the woman. His hands fell on the woman's fragrant shoulders. The woman's skin was as smooth as water, incomparably smooth. Moreover, there was a warmth that spread from Xiaolingyu's fingertips to his whole body, making him unable to help but feel his bones and flesh go soft. What made Xiaolingyu's body tremble was that just as he gently kneaded, the woman let out a soul-stirring moan. The woman's eyes were half closed and her face was flushed red, as if she was a sensitive woman who was receiving the thrusts of a man. "Don't stop," the woman said softly. Her tone was soft, as if she was pouting coquettishly. If the bewitching technique had already taken effect, an ordinary cultivator would definitely not be able to control himself. However, Xiaolingyu's mind was extremely clear. Holding the attitude of watching a show, he continued to knead. Accompanied by Xiaolingyu's kneading, the woman's body continued to undulate. The clothes on her upper body automatically unbuttoned, revealing a large amount of tender white skin on her chest and lower abdomen. She didn't hide anything at all. Her pair of soft breasts were slightly raised, and the 2 points on her chest were as alluring as fresh grape. As expected, it's this move. If she's a pure woman, I'll make do with it. It's not like I can't satisfy her once. Xiaolingyu thought teasingly in his heart. Although his mind was clear, he couldn't help but glance at her from time to time. After all, he was a normal man. He wouldn't refuse to take advantage of her for free. He had never claimed to be a gentleman. However, in order to make the act more realistic, Xiaolingyu would occasionally make his strength chaotic when kneading. He would also make his aura fluctuate continuously. However, he didn't do anything overboard. The woman seemed to feel that she wasn't doing enough, and the clothes on her lower body slowly fell off. At this moment, apart from the thin upper garment that was draped over her wrist, she was practically naked. Moreover, her eyes were closed, and she was facing Xiaolingyu. Fragrance constantly came out of her mouth, and the invisible waves on her body were released even more. Those invisible waves, accompanied by her increasingly hurried moans, madly invaded Xiaolingyu's body. Not only did they continuously sweep through Xiaolingyu's consciousness, but they also acted on Xiaolingyu's lower abdomen. The invisible waves had almost no effect on Xiaolingyu's consciousness, but they had a significant effect on his lower abdomen. Xiaolingyu actually felt that his crotch was gradually heating up. However, as long as his consciousness was clear, Xiaolingyu could control his body. Although he secretly scolded his little brother for not living up to his expectations, he would still pretend to be short of breath. His eyes were still filled with an almost undetectable teasing look. When she heard Xiaolingyu's breathing and felt Xiaolingyu's palms becoming hotter and hotter, the woman thought that her seduction technique had already taken effect. However, it seemed like she should increase her strength a little. No wonder Xiao Feng said that this guy was a little difficult to deal with. So he's actually quite resilient. However, since he's in front of my bed, he can't help but be conquered. I'll give him some strong medicine. Thinking of this, the young woman's 2 slender hands began to caress her entire body. She put her fingers to her lips and stuck out her lilac tongue to lick them. She caressed her soft breasts, the shape of those plump breasts constantly changing in her hands. She moved her hands to her lower abdomen and entangled them with the thick black hair. The more Xiaolingyu watched, the hotter his ears became. Although he thought that he had a lot of self-control, he still felt a little overwhelmed. He had never seen such a beautiful and charming scene before. At this moment, the woman's eyes were half closed and full of tenderness as she stared at Xiaolingyu. This made it difficult for Xiaolingyu to turn his head away and not look. However, no matter what, Xiaolingyu would not have sex with this woman who did not care about her reputation. He only watched and pretended to be mesmerized. However, he still obediently massaged the woman's shoulders and back without any further actions. No matter what kind of seduction technique the woman used, even if she reached her fingers into her crotch to comfort herself, Xiaolingyu remained unmoved. This made the woman very angry, but she could not flare up. After using the seduction technique for a long time, it seemed to be enjoyable, but in fact, it consumed a lot of energy. After casting the technique with all her strength for a full 4 hours, the woman could only wave at Xiaolingyu somewhat tiredly and say, "Let's stop here for today. I'll rest for a while and call you to teach me the demonic arts another day." Now that the woman was Xiaolingyu's master in name, she naturally had the responsibility to teach him the demonic arts of the East Pole Devil sect. However, she did not accept Xiaolingyu as a disciple, and Xiaolingyu did not come to learn the demonic arts either. When two people with bad intentions met and fought a battle of wits and courage, it would naturally be very exciting. However, Xiaolingyu would definitely have the upper hand. This kid is really strange. I'm using so much energy, but he doesn't have the slightest reaction. Could it be that he's originally incompetent? Thinking of this, the woman shook her head again. The masculine aura on his body is very strong. He should be a man with a lot of energy and ability. Could it be that he doesn't dare to get on this bed because his strength is weak? It seems that I'm still too anxious. I still need to give him some time. No matter what, this kid's willpower is really strong. He doesn't seem like an earth demon stage cultivator who has just ascended. The woman's thoughts were tangled. This was the first time that her technique was ineffective on a disciple of the sect, which made her feel a little frustrated. Xiaolingyu returned to his secret room with an unchanged expression. His body had already returned to normal, and that disappointing thing was no longer like a fire stick. If she gives in to me every once in a while, I'll suffer. If this goes on, even if she doesn't suck my yang essence dry, I'll suffocate to death. After returning from that kind of scene, how could Xiaolingyu's heart be at peace? However, after meditating for a while, those chaotic scenes gradually turned into scenes of him and Anya's happy days at the headquarters of the Shuntian League, making his gloomy face reveal a bit of nostalgia and gratification. A few days passed like this, and the woman once again called Xiaolingyu over. This time, she didn't let Xiaolingyu massage her shoulders and back. Instead, she passed a few jade slips to Xiaolingyu, saying that they were all devil techniques practiced by the disciples of the devil sect. However, she didn't directly teach Xiaolingyu the cultivation method of those devil techniques. Instead, she chatted with Xiaolingyu about the interesting things of the East Pole Devil sect. Her attitude was very amiable, and her expression was also full of smiles, giving people the feeling that a young couple was having a private conversation. It didn't seem like a master teaching a disciple at all. In this way, for more than half a year, the woman chatted with Xiaolingyu. Moreover, she took good care of Xiaolingyu. The two of them looked like a loving couple. Chapter 240. Although the days seemed relaxed and comfortable, Xiaolingyu didn't dare to relax in the slightest. Every time he was with Madame Lu, his nerves would be tense. Although he wasn't afraid that she would suddenly attack him, he was afraid that she would try to seduce him again. Madame Lu wasn't only skilled in the art of seduction, she also had a good understanding of other devil arts. In order to show her knowledgeable side to her disciple, she explained the devil arts very thoroughly and carefully, allowing Xiaolingyu to have a deeper understanding of devil arts. Xiaolingyu also pretended to be a diligent learner. Whenever there was something he didn't understand, he would always sincerely ask for advice. When it came to other devil arts, Xiaolingyu only pretended to cultivate and comprehend them. However, Xiaoling Yu was very interested in a certain devil art and often asked Madame Lu questions. This curse technique was also taught to him by the woman surnamed Lu. The method was engraved in the jade slip. The woman surnamed Lu seemed to be very proficient in this kind of technique. No matter what Xiaoling Yu couldn't understand, she could easily solve it. Devil arts were actually very similar to restriction techniques and formations. They were all auxiliary techniques, but they could play a very powerful role. If one could achieve a high level of attainment in this field, it could also double the strength of a cultivator. In fact, I'm most proficient in devil arts. If you're interested in this, it's your destiny to worship me as your disciple, Madame Lu proudly said. From her expression, it was clear that she wasn't bragging. In the jade slip engraved with devil arts that Madame Lu gave Xiaoling Yu, there were strange patterns that were very similar to the records of the powerful devil arts that Xiaoling Yu obtained in the Giant Peak. This was the reason why Xiaoling Yu was interested in devil arts. After Madame Lu's detailed instructions, Xiaoling Yu could almost conclude that the devil arts in his memories were a kind of devil art. However, in terms of grade, it was certainly much higher than the one that Madame Lu taught him. The devil arts that Madame Lu taught him could only be regarded as the basics of devil arts. However, it would be of great help to Xiaoling Yu in comprehending and combining the powerful devil arts. In the entire Eastern Pole demonic sect, apart from one person, I have the deepest understanding of demonic spells. Everyone else thinks that demonic spells are of little value. That's because this kind of spell doesn't have much power if it's not cultivated to a high level. Instead of wasting time and energy on demonic spells, it's better to comprehend demonic seals and demonic arrays. In fact, the foundation of the magic curse technique is very profound and difficult to understand. The middle and high-level magic curse technique is even more difficult to understand. If you want to have a high level of attainment in magic curse technique, you not only need a high level of perception and perseverance, but you also need a great opportunity to obtain a relatively high-level magic curse technique. The woman surnamed Lu spoke slowly. Her voice was less licentious and more solemn. My perception and perseverance are average. The reason why I understand more than other people in the devil sect is because I didn't understand it at first. I was very curious about it, so I wasted a lot of time studying it. Later, I was fortunate enough to obtain an intermediate devil art. However, I haven't achieved much in it. If you hadn't come to ask me recently, I would have almost forgotten about this devil art. Madame Lu said with a bit of a bitter smile. Xiaoling Yu's soul realm was much higher than Madame Lu's. His comprehension ability and speed were countless times faster than Madame Lu's when she first started studying devil arts. Coupled with Madame Lu's guidance, he quickly understood the basics of devil art. He could already easily form some basic devil arts, which made Madame Lu very surprised. However, although Madame Lu had an intermediate devil art, she didn't teach it to Xiaoling Yu. Whenever Xiaoling Yu asked, she would say, "I suggest you don't waste too much time on devil arts. If you don't have a high-level devil art, then all your efforts will be in vain." Then she would change the topic. If she didn't talk about other devil arts that Xiaoling Yu didn't care about, then she would talk about some interesting things in the Eastern Devil sect, which made Xiaoling Yu very depressed. If it wasn't for the fact that he still hadn't figured out who this Madame Lu's backer was, Xiaoling Yu would have already attacked her and searched her soul memories. Based on his understanding of entry-level spells, Xiaoling Yu was able to piece together most of the dozens of high-level spells. However, there were many places where he still needed to have some understanding of intermediate-level spells in order to be able to arrange them properly. If Madame Lu didn't have an intermediate devil art, then Xiaoling Yu wouldn't have thought too much about it. However, she said she had one and refused to teach it to Xiaoling Yu. This made Xiaoling Yu's thoughts turn. However, Xiaoling Yu wasn't in a hurry. There would be plenty of opportunities in the future. Even if he couldn't get it from Madame Lu, he could get it from other places. At worst, he could go to a big city and buy it with magic stones. Madame Lu originally wanted to use the devil arts to make Xiaolingyu anxious for a few days and make Xiaolingyu beg her. However, she didn't expect that after a few days, not only did Xiaolingyu not beg her, but he also didn't mention the devil arts again. This made her a bit disappointed. Is this brat playing tricks on me, or did he really lose confidence because of what I said? Madame Lu was a bit suspicious. She began to talk about devil arts again and again. Occasionally, she would talk about the cultivation of intermediate devil arts. Unfortunately, Xiaolingyu, who had already learned the basics, didn't care about her scattered pointers. When he listened, he was no longer as attentive as before. In order to determine whether Xiaolingyu had completely lost his confidence and interest in the devil arts, Madame Lu talked more and more about intermediate devil arts. On the surface, Xiaolingyu still had an indifferent expression. However, in his heart, he remembered everything in detail. Madame Lu was a shrewd person. Naturally, she wouldn't teach the genuine intermediate devil arts. When she saw Xiaolingyu's lack of interest, she made a lot of changes to the intermediate devil arts she talked about. Xiaolingyu didn't know that Madame Lu would change the intermediate devil arts she knew. When he went back to practice, he didn't find anything abnormal and quietly practiced. In this way 2 years passed. Madame Lu seemed to have lost her patience. One day she called Xiaolingyu to her residence and used a seduction technique. Unfortunately, although Xiaolingyu had been with Madame Lu for a while and they were familiar with each other, Xiaolingyu wouldn't get on her bed no matter how unbearable it was. This caused her plan to fail. She spent so much time trying to make Xiaolingyu bolder, but it didn't seem to have any effect. On the surface, Xiaolingyu still looked as restrained as when he first arrived, unable to let loose. As a result, not only was Xiaolingyu unbearable, but Madame Lu also had nowhere to vent her anger. Madame Lu rarely tasted the feeling of defeat. This time, she wouldn't easily give up. Moreover, her desire to conquer Xiaolingyu grew even stronger. The more difficult it was to obtain something, the more attractive it was. This was also applicable to cultivators in the devil realm. This brat's willpower is too strong. It's a bit too strong. Could it be that there's something wrong with him? My seduction technique has a strong effect on devil cultivators in the early stage of the true devil realm, but it can only slightly cause his aura to become chaotic. Could it be that he has a high-level soul defense magic treasure? No, I have to think of another method. What method should I use? That's right, I'll use a devil art. With the addition of my seduction technique, if he doesn't fall for it, then there must be a problem. After thinking for a while, Madame Lu called Xiaolingyu to her bedside. Using the same excuse of her body being sore, she had Xiaolingyu massage her shoulders and back. Xiaolingyu, as usual, saw what she should see and pretended that her aura was chaotic. However, she didn't take the next step. She still had the mentality of watching a play and kept her mind clear. Perhaps because she had been baptized by this seduction technique too many times, Xiaolingyu could now almost ignore Madame Lu's seduction technique. Although she was still nervous on the surface, her body and mind were incomparably relaxed. Originally, Xiaolingyu thought that today would be the same as usual. Both sides would have a bellyful of anger and then separate. But today, Madame Lu seemed to be in a better mood. Her moans surged through the entire room like a torrent. She didn't tell Xiaolingyu to stop. Instead, she stroked her own body with her own hands. Xiaolingyu remained unmoved. He inwardly thought that Madame Lu was at her wits' end. After a full 4 hours, Madame Lu, who was facing Xiaolingyu, unknowingly changed the moans from her mouth into a very obscure devil art. Fortunately, Xiaolingyu had practiced devil arts before. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to hear the devil art in her moans. But after a long time, Xiaolingyu had become accustomed to Madame Lu's moans. By the time he heard the devil art, it was already too late. The woman surnamed Lu's mastery of devil incantation was far superior to Xiaolingyu's, who had just entered the devil incantation. After she finished reciting the devil incantation, she suddenly straightened her naked body and uttered a word of devil incantation from her mouth. It actually shook the golden soul bead inside Xiaoling Yu's primal chaos devil incantation. Before Xiaoling Yu could recover, the devil art and Madame Lu's seduction technique surged into Xiaoling Yu's sea of knowledge like a raging tide. Xiaoling Yu's concealment of his sea of knowledge became nothing more than a decoration. Madame Lu could see through his empty sea of knowledge at a glance. There's no soul in his sea of knowledge. Madame Lu was very surprised. But soon after, the devil art helped her find her dantian. The devil art and seduction technique surged into the chaos demon nascent soul's forehead. Due to being absent-minded, the chaos demon nascent soul and Xiaoling Yu didn't have time to defend themselves. The devil art and seduction technique worked on Xiaoling Yu's golden soul bead, causing Xiaoling Yu to feel the world in front of him spinning. Strange colors began to form in the depths of his consciousness, causing him to blush. This is bad. Chapter 241. After all, Xiaoling Yu was in the early stage of the true devil realm, which was one level higher than the late stage of the devil king realm. Even if the woman used her bewitching curse and bewitching technique to invade Xiaoling Yu's soul and confuse Xiaoling Yu's consciousness, it wasn't an easy task. When Xiaoling Yu's soul and consciousness fell to a certain extent, he, who had a strong sense of self-preservation, still held on to the last trace of clarity. No matter how much force the woman used, she couldn't make Xiaoling Yu completely fall into a daze. As long as Xiaoling Yu still had a trace of rationality, the woman wouldn't be able to do as she wished. However, she had been consuming a lot of energy to maintain this technique. If Xiaoling Yu persisted, her efforts would be in vain. No, if this continues, I'm afraid I'll be exhausted before he's subdued by me. Madame Lu's heart was anxious. She looked at Xiaoling Yu, whose eyes were blurred but had a trace of clarity. She resolutely pushed Xiaoling Yu, who had lost control of his body, onto the bed. Xiaoling Yu could only keep his consciousness from falling into a daze, but he couldn't control his body. He stared blankly at the woman whose clothes had already left her body and thought, could it be that I'm going to be defiled by this woman? Under Xiaoling Yu's gaze, the woman began to undress Xiaoling Yu. He was wearing very little to begin with, and the woman was very anxious, so he was completely naked in a few moments. What made Xiaoling Yu even more depressed was that his lower body was already erect due to the stimulation from earlier. He had no choice but to cooperate with the woman. The more critical the moment was, the more the woman didn't relax her bewitching curse and bewitching technique. Xiaoling Yu still couldn't find an opportunity to break free. The woman smiled charmingly and twisted her body, moving her buttocks to Xiaoling Yu's crotch. Then, one of her white hands touched Xiaoling Yu's lower body. After aiming a bit, Madame Lu's body began to sink. Before he even sank in, Xiaoling Yu could already feel drops of sticky liquid dripping onto his little brother. Even though his consciousness was hazy, he still felt very uncomfortable. In order not to be tainted, Xiaoling Yu's consciousness struggled with all its might. The chaos demonic infant was also trying to repel the other party's curse and seduction technique. What Xiaoling Yu didn't expect was that her power and consciousness didn't have much of an effect. However, the soul restriction that the old steward of the Imperial Beast Hall had placed on her had actually exploded at this moment. The originally hidden soul restriction surged out from Xiaoling Yu's soul and imprisoned Lu's bewitching technique and demonic curse in an instant. It was also at this moment that Xiaoling Yu completely regained control of his cultivation and soul power. His advantage in terms of cultivation level allowed him to sweep away the power of the charm and curse like a hot knife through butter. Damn it! How could I forget about this? Lu cursed inwardly. She couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood and her naked body weakly fell down. Xiaoling Yu hadn't been raped. After regaining his freedom, he moved to the side with lingering fear and put on his clothes. At this moment, Xiaoling Yu recalled the situation from a moment ago and suddenly recalled that the disciples of the East Pole Devil sect couldn't invade each other's souls. This was because there was a restriction in the depths of everyone's soul. Once someone's soul power touched the soul of a fellow disciple, they would suffer a backlash from the restriction. Every time Fong Yu wanted to scheme against a fellow disciple, he would first imprison them and then find a way to expel them from the sect. Only after that would he dare to act because of this scruple. When the East Pole Devil sect planted a restriction in their disciples' souls, how could they not have thought of protecting their disciples? And today, Xiaoling Yu was the beneficiary of this soul restriction. Who the hell are you? How can your soul realm be so high? Lu surnamed was now completely certain that this cultivator who had just ascended had a much higher realm than her. How could she not be surprised and suspicious? Who I am isn't important. What's important is that you shouldn't have provoked me. Xiaoling Yu's face was still calm even after his true cultivation was seen through. However, his voice was a bit gloomy because he had almost been schemed against. Humph. You're only an early-stage true devil and have a soul restriction planted in you. Do you think you can act wantonly in the East Pole Devil sect? Although Lu's tone was unyielding, her expression was a bit panicked. Do you think you can represent the East Pole Devil sect? Xiaoling Yu asked with a sneer. Of course I can. Lu surnamed said very confidently. Even if you can represent the East Pole Devil sect, as long as I kill you now, how will the East Pole Devil sect know that it was me who did it? How will they find trouble with me? Xiaoling Yu said indifferently. There are a lot of people in the East Pole Devil sect who know about this. Only you and I are here. If something happens to me, they can easily guess that this matter is related to you. At that time, a mid-late true demon expert will be able to see through you. The woman surnamed Lu seemed to have recovered and said while tidying up her clothes. At this time, Lu surnamed was very angry after recovering from her shock. She understood that the other party had been looking at her as a joke. Everything she did before was just child's play in front of the other party. She originally wanted to play this brat to death, but she never thought that this brat was just pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. No wonder the situation turned around in the end. She couldn't help but hate Fong Yu. This is indeed troublesome. Xiaoling Yu nodded. He then touched his chin and said, I don't have to kill you, but I can also plant a restriction in your soul and take your life at any time. Your thinking is too simple. My soul already has a restriction planted by the devil sect. If you place one more, the two restrictions will conflict and the one you planted will be erased. If your restriction is stronger than the devil sect's, then my soul will dissipate. Lu's surname said with a smile. Oh? Xiaoling Yu obviously didn't believe it easily. He immediately surged his power and directly imprisoned Lu surnamed. Then, Xiaoling Yu stretched out his finger and pointed at the other party's glabella. After a long while, Xiaoling Yu helplessly retracted his finger. As Lu surnamed said, Xiaoling Yu couldn't plant any restriction in her soul. His level of restriction was far inferior to the East Pole Devil sect's soul restriction. Since he couldn't plant a soul restriction, Xiaoling Yu couldn't control Lu surnamed. His only choice was to kill her here. But if he killed her, Xiaoling Yu wouldn't be able to explain it to the East Pole Devil sect's experts. Moreover, once the East Pole Devil sect's late-stage true demon experts came, it was very likely that they would be able to see his true cultivation. Since I can't plant a restriction, then I can only kill you. With my cultivation, I don't think the sect will care about me killing a late-stage Devil King disciple. Xiaoling Yu pondered for a while, and seemed to have made up his mind. You're looking down on me too much. If you kill other late-stage Devil King disciples, maybe the sect won't pursue it because of your strength. But if you kill me, then you'll be killed by the sect's experts. Even if the sect master pleads for you, it'll be useless, Lu's surname said with a smile. So, the sect's spirit demon should be your backer, Xiaoling Yu said with narrowed eyes. It's not too late for you to know, Lu Surname said with full confidence. Although I'm not a spirit demon's opponent, if I'm forced, I can only take the risk and kill you first. As for what will happen in the future, I don't care, Shaoling Yu said casually. How about this? You didn't mean to provoke me, and I was the one who provoked you. State your conditions. If I can give you a satisfactory answer, then we won't interfere in each other's business in the future. How about it? Lu Surname suggested sincerely. How can I trust that you won't talk nonsense in the future? Shaoling Yu asked noncommittally. I can swear on my soul. Will you believe me then? Lu Surname said with great sincerity. That's fine. In any case, I didn't suffer any losses and don't want to cause any big trouble. If you're willing to swear on your soul, then that's naturally the best. As for the conditions, I won't ask for much. You just have to teach me the intermediate curse technique, Shaoling Yu said with a nod, pretending to weigh the pros and cons. This was indeed the case. If the woman surnamed Lu was willing to swear, then it was naturally the result that Shaoling Yu wanted to see. After all, she was backed by a spirit demon expert, an existence that Shaoling Yu currently couldn't face. I accept your conditions. Lu Surnamed made the oath and handed a jade slip to Shaoling Yu. Shaoling Yu took the jade slip and carefully scanned it before putting it away with satisfaction. He said, Since we won't interfere in each other's business in the future, then I'll have to trouble you to send me back to the Imperial Beast Hall. That's not a problem. You should know that I can't wait for you to leave, Lu Surnamed replied. Half a month later, Shaoling Yu was brought back to the Imperial Beast Hall by Lu Surnamed. However, she didn't bring Fong Yu back. Although Fong Yu didn't know why, he didn't ask. What he was most curious about was how Shaoling Yu came back alive. Fong Yu wasn't the only one who was suspicious. Even the hunchbacked old man in charge of the Imperial Beast Hall was in disbelief. After sending off Lu Surnamed, he invited Shaoling Yu into his room and questioned him in detail. Shaoling Yu just said that he might have been sent back because he wasn't considerate enough. The hunchbacked old man was also a shrewd person. He knew that Shaoling Yu was being perfunctory, but because he was shrewd, he didn't pursue the matter. During the days when Shaoling Yu was away, Wang Tai and Hao Ren didn't suffer much because of the hunchbacked old man's care. However, under the insidious schemes of Miao Yan and Fong Yu, they certainly suffered a lot. Fortunately, Hao Ren's mind was very shrewd. Every time he encountered a problem, he would directly blame it on the old man in charge. Because of this, they hadn't made any big mistakes until now. Wang Tai and Hao Ren felt relieved after Shaoling Yu came back. Although they didn't know what Shaoling Yu's cultivation level was, they felt that with Shaoling Yu around, their days would be very happy. Chapter 242. Shaoling Yu did not stay in seclusion for a long time, coming out after 2 or 3 months. Then, he would greet the old hunchback steward and go out. Every time he went out, it would only take him 7 or 8 days to come back and continue his seclusion. Occasionally, he would stay in the valley of the Imperial Beast Hall after his seclusion, taking care of the young beasts while pondering all day long. When he was in seclusion, Shaoling Yu was trying his best to comprehend the intermediate and advanced curses. When he went out, he would find a place where no one was around to practice the curses he had comprehended. When he was feeding the young beasts in the valley, he would carefully study the things that he had always found difficult to comprehend. In the blink of an eye, 10 years had passed. After such a long period of comprehension, Shaoling Yu had already achieved good results in the cultivation of intermediate curses. The disorganized combination of advanced curses had also improved. However, in such a short period of time, Shaoling Yu could only occasionally deduce the advanced curses. He still needed a long time to completely reassemble the advanced curses. Shaoling Yu was not in a hurry. Currently, he was unable to make a breakthrough in his cultivation. He could also improve his strength by putting in some effort in some auxiliary technique. In fact, if Shaoling Yu could use the intermediate curses properly, it could already increase his battle strength by a lot. It could also allow him to increase the variety of his attack method. However, with his current realm, it was still a little difficult to comprehend advanced curses. As long as a cultivator's comprehension was slightly better, it would be easier for them to get started in the cultivation of curses. They would be able to easily activate some simple curses. However, to comprehend intermediate curses, one would need to be very proficient in basic curses. This was because intermediate curses were ingenious combinations of countless basic curses. In this aspect, the curse technique, restriction technique, and formation technique were similar. However, formation technique and restriction technique were traceable. As long as one was good at calculation, and with years of understanding, one would be able to make continuous progress. However, the curse technique was a more ethereal existence. Not only did it require a high level of soul realm to support the complicated and huge calculation, it also required unconstrained imagination and creativity. Intermediate and advanced curses were generally imbued with the cultivator's own thought. When the same curses were activated by two cultivators, the effects and power produced would be very different. When restrictions and formations were set up or activated, they could be seen or felt by cultivators. Moreover, they could exist for a relatively long time and were more stable. However, curses were different. When they were activated, they were like ghosts dancing in the night, drifting and leaving no trace. However, once they were activated, they had to hit the target. Otherwise, they would dissipate. They could not be like restrictions or formations that could exist for many years without showing their power. Once a curses hit the target, they would not dissipate quickly. Instead, they could stay in the target's body for a very long time. The most amazing thing was that after the curses entered the target's body, they would change under the control of the caster. What Xiaolingyu valued was not only the power of the curses themselves, but also the power after the curses were fused with various seals or spells. Although this fusion was very difficult and required a lot of time to calculate and deduce, once the fusion was successful, the power of the curses and seals or spells would increase by many times. Last time, the woman surnamed Lu had fused her charm technique and ecstasy curse together to cast it on Xiaolingyu. Even though Xiaolingyu's cultivation was one level higher than that woman surnamed Lu, he could not avoid being hit. If it were not for the special restriction of the East Pole Devil sect in his soul, he was afraid that woman surnamed Lu would have sucked his yang essence dry. Xiaolingyu was not very proficient in other spells and seals. Just the primal chaos seal alone required him to study it with all his strength. Naturally, he only wanted to fuse some powerful curses with the primal chaos seal. The primal chaos seal's power had increased a lot because of the demonization of his primal chaos force. If he could fuse some intermediate curses with Xiaolingyu's current strength, the primal chaos seal's power would be enough to easily kill any late-stage true demon existence. Even early-stage spirit demon experts would have to stay far away and not dare to face it head-on. Xiaolingyu's current cultivation goal in the short term was to fuse the primal chaos seal with some intermediate curses. As for advanced curses, he could not even reach the entry level. He could not use any advanced curses at all, let alone fuse them with the primal chaos seal. Even if he wanted to fuse intermediate curses, Xiaolingyu still needed a long time to study them. If Xiaolingyu wanted to fuse the intermediate curse techniques into the primal chaos seal, he would first need to reach a level where he could use the intermediate curse techniques as he wished. Only after he was familiar with the intermediate curse techniques could he then search for the curse techniques to fuse with the primal chaos seal. After 10 years of comprehension and cultivation, Xiaolingyu had already mastered a few intermediate curses that were suitable for him. Recently, he had been trying to fuse these curses with the primal chaos seal one by one. Unfortunately, he did not know whether it was because his realm was not high enough, his understanding of curses was not enough, or he found the right place to fuse them. In short, he had tried thousands of times, but he did not succeed once. Unknowingly, 10 years have passed. They have not sent me any messages. I don't know how things are going. I should go take a look. It's time to tell Tsang-ju about these curses. With that thought, Xiaolingyu went to the old manager to ask for leave. The old manager originally had a little suspicion that Xiaolingyu was not an ordinary person. The last time Xiaolingyu returned unscathed, he was even more convinced of this point. Even a late Devil King expert could not do anything to him, so he, a mere late heavenly devil cultivator, naturally did not dare to put on the airs of a senior manager in front of Xiaolingyu. Therefore, all these years, when Xiaolingyu was always in seclusion and did not work, he had never questioned him. In recent years, Xiaolingyu had been going out every once in a while. The old manager had long been accustomed to it. This time was no exception. He very straightforwardly allowed it. However, just as Xiaolingyu was about to leave, the old manager said, "In another half a year, the sect will select a group of elite disciples from the Earth Devil and Heavenly Devil realms. They will be accepted as disciples by a few true Devil Grandmasters. At that time, there will be a competition. It is said that the top 10 will be accepted by the true Devil Grandmasters, and the top 3 will have the opportunity to enter the East Extreme Devil Cave to cultivate for a period of time. If they are lucky, they might be chosen by the Grand Elder who is cultivating in the East Extreme Devil Cave." Grand Elder? Xiaolingyu was a little curious because it was the first time he heard that there was a Grand Elder in the East Extreme Devil sect, but after a moment, he thought that the Grand Elder of the East Extreme Devil sect should be a spirit demon powerhouse. In short, this is definitely a good opportunity for you. Take advantage of it. This time you go out and try to come back as early as possible. Don't delay the competition. The hunchbacked old man reminded. Xiaolingyu didn't take this matter to heart. After leaving the East Extreme Devil sect, he rushed all the way to the Demon Scorpion Valley. The journey was peaceful, and in less than 2 days, Xiaolingyu arrived at the mountain forest where the Demon Scorpion Valley was located. Just a few hundred miles away from the Demon Scorpion Valley, Xiaolingyu, who was walking quickly in the mountain forest, suddenly frowned. After stopping, he shouted, "Come out!" His shout came out, but no one came out. Only a light breeze floated in the distance. "Humph! After following for a while, you can't just leave like that. Come out and meet me." As soon as Xiaolingyu's words fell, his body had already moved hundreds of feet horizontally, blocking the light breeze. The light breeze was too late to stop, and it hit Xiaolingyu's body, but it didn't pass by, but it was bounced back by Xiaolingyu's imposing aura, and then gradually turned into a staggered cultivator. The cultivator looked a little young, about 18 or 19 years old. After he steadied himself, he stared at Xiaolingyu with a gloomy face. After a while, he cupped his fists and said, "I didn't mean to offend you. Please forgive me, brother." "Didn't mean to offend you? You've been following me ever since I entered the forest. You call that unintentionally offending me?" Xiaolingyu sneered as he questioned. "Indeed, I didn't mean to offend you. Once we enter the forest, we will soon reach the Demon Scorpion Valley. Moreover, you are heading in that direction, so I followed you," the young cultivator replied after a pause. Although the young cultivator looked young, he was actually an early-stage true demon. He should have just ascended from late-stage Devil King not long ago. Naturally, he couldn't see through Xiaolingyu's strength, but from Xiaolingyu's imposing aura, he could roughly judge Xiaolingyu's cultivation, so he wasn't very afraid. "What does me going to the Demon Scorpion Valley have to do with you? Why are you following me?" Xiaolingyu asked again, his expression cold, as if he would attack if the young cultivator didn't give a reasonable explanation. This matter is confidential, I can't say it casually," the young cultivator said, scratching his head. "You don't have to say it, as long as you can beat me." Xiaolingyu didn't waste any time. As soon as he finished speaking, he rushed out again. He didn't use any spells or magic treasures, only clawing at the young cultivator's throat. But before Xiaolingyu could reach the young cultivator, the young cultivator cried out in alarm and turned into a gentle breeze. Wherever Xiao Lingyu's imposing aura passed, the breeze would automatically move aside. No matter how strong Xiao Lingyu was, he couldn't touch the young cultivator's clothes. The young cultivator wasn't extremely fast, but had a strange movement technique. As long as Xiao Lingyu's aura leaked out, the young cultivator's movement technique would automatically dodge, and dodge in advance. Xiao Lingyu's attack speed wasn't slow, and it wasn't that he couldn't hit the young cultivator, but that his attack speed wasn't fast enough to ignore the young cultivator's movement technique. After attacking for a while, Xiao Lingyu released his imposing aura in an attempt to seal the surrounding space, but it was useless. The young cultivator's movement technique seemed to be able to ignore the imposing aura seal. At least, Xiao Lingyu's imposing aura seal was useless against him. Chapter 243. With the support of the extreme speed wings, Xiao Lingyu's speed immediately soared, leaving behind a series of afterimages with each attack. With the help of the extreme speed wings, Xiao Lingyu's attacks were a threat to the young true demon cultivator. However, the other party was still able to narrowly avoid the attacks, but it was not as easy as before. I don't believe that you can continue to use this kind of movement technique without consuming any energy. Although Xiao Lingyu couldn't defeat his opponent in a short period of time, he was relying on his body to fight, so he didn't consume much of his strength. The wings of extreme speed only consumed the space force contained within them, so it didn't consume much of Xiao Lingyu's strength. He could fight such a long battle. The two were deadlocked for about an hour before the other party finally could not hold on any longer. His movements were slightly slower, and he was almost hit by Xiao Lingyu several times. Knowing that the situation was unfavorable for him, the cultivator turned into a breeze and began to escape. Unfortunately, Xiao Lingyu had already used the extreme speed wings, so how could the cultivator escape so easily? After Xiao Lingyu blocked the breeze again, the young cultivator was revealed again. However, this time, he was gasping for breath. His face was pale and his aura was weak. It seemed that he had consumed a lot of energy. "All right, let's stop fighting. I'll tell you, okay?" The other party bent over and waved his hand at Xiao Lingyu. "If you had told me earlier, you wouldn't have been so tired and I could have saved some time," Xiao Lingyu said noncommittally. The young cultivator straightened his body and fed himself a pill to recover his energy. After his complexion recovered a little, he asked, "What is your relationship with the bandits of the Demon Scorpion Valley?" "You don't need to know that. You just need to tell me why you're following me," Xiao Lingyu said indifferently. "If you have a grudge with those bandits, perhaps we can cooperate once," the young cultivator said. "Oh? What kind of cooperation?" Xiao Lingyu pretended to be very interested. "Some time ago, I discovered that the Marquis of the Meng family in Mingji City was chasing after a child, and that child was hiding among the bandits in Devil Scorpion Valley. However, after investigating, I found that there was also a true demon early-stage cultivator in the Devil Scorpion Valley. In addition, there were also many Devil King stage bandit leaders. I couldn't go in and rescue them, so I have been guarding outside. If brother works with me, we can definitely heavily injure that true demon primary stage bandit. You can easily deal with those bandits, and I can take the child to get the reward. All the treasures looted by the bandits will belong to you, and I will only go to the Meng family to receive the reward. This is a win-win situation for us," the young cultivator suggested with a smile of exultation. Xiao Lingyu pretended to think for a while before nodding. "That's good. But when we reach the demonic Scorpion Valley, don't keep using your strange movement technique to dodge instead of fighting head-on. Don't worry, bounty hunters like us won't slack off at a critical moment," the young cultivator assured while patting his chest. "Bounty hunter?" Xiao Lingyu frowned slightly because this term was a bit fresh. Seeing Xiao Lingyu's strange expression, the young cultivator's eyes flickered. He laughed and said, "It's the kind of person who helps others solve their problems first and then receives the reward." Haha, bounty hunter is good. Although it's dangerous, you can choose the target, and you have more freedom than bandits. Xiaolingyu responded with a smile, and then continued to go to the Devil Scorpion Valley. In Xiaolingyu's view, although this young cultivator's movement technique was strange and his ability was good, he was still not a qualified bounty hunter. This was because the other party's mind seemed to be a bit simple. Not only was it too easy to get the truth, but it was also easy to believe others. Of course, it was not ruled out that this kid was very good at acting and could deceive Xiaolingyu. However, Xiaolingyu at least knew that the Meng family of Mingyi City would indeed pursue Zhu Jin. In addition, this was the first time she met this young cultivator, and this kid definitely didn't know her relationship with the bandits of the Devil Scorpion Valley, so Xiaolingyu had reason to believe that this kid didn't deceive her. Even if this kid deceived her, Xiaolingyu had already figured out the other party's background, so she wasn't afraid of this kid's tricks. The two traveled together, and it only took 2 cups of tea's time to arrive at the entrance of the Devil Scorpion Valley. I'll use my movement technique to sneak into the valley and wait for an opportunity to create chaos. When you see the battle cries inside, just go in and help. After the young cultivator said this to Xiaolingyu, he turned into a breeze and floated to the entrance of the valley. On the way here, he had already recovered his cultivation with the help of medicinal pills. When the young cultivator entered the valley, Xiaolingyu took out her communication bead and sent a message to Zhu Jin. Xiaolingyu only waited for a while before the battle cries came out from the valley. Xiaolingyu also entered the valley with a smile. Due to Xiaolingyu's reminder, the bandits in the valley did not fall into chaos. Instead, they arranged themselves in an orderly formation, surrounding the young cultivator, who had transformed into a gentle breeze and was constantly drifting about. And Songju was also in the encirclement, dealing with the breeze. Songju wasn't good at speed, so he naturally couldn't do anything to the young cultivator. He could only chase after the breeze with his own body. The young cultivator was surrounded, and the situation was very unfavorable. However, he was extremely confident in his movement technique, and he felt that he had a strong helper who would come in to help, so he wasn't in a hurry to break out and fight. Xiaolingyu arrived in front of the bandit. The bandits all shouted in unison, "Greetings, boss." Many of the bandits saluted in unison. Although the momentum wasn't earth-shattering, it still caused the entire Devil Scorpion Valley to tremble. Even though the young cultivator had poor hearing, he could still hear it clearly. At first, the young cultivator was a bit suspicious, thinking that there was still an expert hidden among the bandits. However, when he saw Xiaolingyu greet the bandits with a smile, he could only curse himself in his heart. At this point, no matter how inexperienced the young cultivator was, he could tell that the other party had been deceiving him. After being tricked, he had jumped into the other party's ambush. The reason why Xiaolingyu schemed against the young cultivator was firstly to safely capture him alive, and secondly, she purely wanted to tease this somewhat rash bounty hunter. In his heart, Xiaolingyu didn't plan to mercilessly kill the young cultivator because this fellow wasn't a vicious person. Moreover, Xiaolingyu wanted to learn more about bounty hunters from him. "You should just surrender. If we fight and we don't control our strength well, I'm afraid you'll lose your life here," Xiaolingyu shouted loudly. What Xiaolingyu didn't expect was that after hearing his words, the young cultivator actually stopped. Then, he withdrew his aura and remained motionless. Xiaolingyu frowned slightly. Many of the bandits were also very suspicious. Since this brat had the guts to barge in, why did he give up so easily? Didn't they say that assassins were very courageous? Didn't they say that assassins would rather die than submit? The young cultivator's reaction left everyone at a loss for a moment. To be on the safe side, Xiaolingyu personally walked over and used his power to imprison the young cultivator's cultivation. From the beginning to the end, the young cultivator did not have the slightest intention of resisting or doing anything. Since the other party was so tactful, Xiaolingyu was happy to save some trouble. He brought the young cultivator and casually found a secret room to enter. Sigh, I'm just a fledgling. I haven't even completed a mission and I'm already captured alive. Why am I so unlucky? Although the young cultivator was captured, there wasn't much fear on his face. He just looked a little depressed. Why aren't you afraid at all? Aren't you worried that I'll kill you? Xiaolingyu asked curiously. He really didn't know where the other party's confidence came from. If you wanted to kill me, you would have done so long ago. You wouldn't have brought me here to have a heart-to-heart talk. Moreover, if you really wanted to kill me, it's useless even if I'm afraid. Would you let me go just because I'm afraid? The young cultivator replied calmly. You're quite open-minded. Xiaolingyu praised with a smile. It's useless even if I'm open-minded. I'm just like that. I don't worry about things that are beyond my power. In the current situation, I don't have the power to protect myself. It all depends on your attitude. However, I don't have any secrets here and I don't know where the treasures are hidden. If you want to squeeze something out of me, I'm afraid you'll have to waste your efforts. The young cultivator shrugged. Hee, I'm not trying to get any treasures from you. I just have a few questions to ask. Xiaolingyu responded with a smile and then asked, What's your name? The young cultivator didn't answer. Instead, he asked, If I cooperate, will you let me go? Xiaolingyu thought for a moment and said, As long as you answer truthfully, I guarantee that I won't kill you. The young cultivator nodded and replied, I'm called Gong He. I have an older brother, Gong Jiang. That's right, this matter doesn't seem to have anything to do with him. Xiaolingyu narrowed his eyes and asked cautiously, What's your older brother's cultivation level now? This matter has nothing to do with him. Let's not drag him into this, okay? Gong He said, a little embarrassed. If it has nothing to do with him, then it has something to do with you. You'd better answer honestly, Xiaolingyu said seriously. Actually, I don't have a good relationship with him. He's always opposed me coming out to be a bounty hunter. He's my older brother and was born hundreds of thousands of years before me. Naturally, his cultivation level is much higher than mine. When I came out, he was at the peak of the mid-stage spirit demon realm. I don't know if he has reached the late-stage spirit demon realm now, Gong He said, seemingly sincere. The peak of the mid-stage spirit demon realm. Xiaolingyu, Songju, and the bandit leaders in the room were all shocked. This was because this cultivation level was far beyond theirs. Xiaolingyu didn't even dare to face an early-stage spirit demon realm expert. If he faced an expert at the peak of the mid-stage spirit demon realm, he probably wouldn't be able to resist at all. With such a strong backing, you still came out to be a bounty hunter? Zhu Jin asked, seemingly in disbelief. Everyone has their own ambitions. I don't want to grow up under my older brother's protection because I'll never be able to withstand the storm. I want to train myself, but I don't want to lose my freedom. I also don't want to be found by my older brother too early, so... Chapter 244. Bounty hunters receive benefits from others and work for them. What's there to say? Gong He said nonchalantly. What I want to know is not about the bounty hunters themselves, but about the organization. Xiaolingyu shook his head and said, This organization? Most of the cultivators who have reached the true demon realm know about this organization. Gong He first said, and then seeing the impatient expression on Xiaolingyu's face, he continued, Bounty hunters are a very large organization. It should be said that the entire devil world has members, and I guess there are similar organizations in the immortal world as well. Such a large organization naturally needs a clearer system and rules, but the most important thing is the ranking in the organization. Gong He paused for a moment. Seeing that everyone was listening attentively and no one had any intention of interrupting, he continued, There are 5 levels of bounty hunters from the lowest to the highest. They are Hunter, Hunter Master, Hunter King, Hunter Emperor, and Hunter God. The ranking here is not only based on your own realm and strength, but also the number of times you complete the task and the difficulty. Every time a bounty hunter completes a task, they can use the relevant evidence to record it in the branch and slowly accumulate it. However, in order to not rely on the help of others to complete the task and get the opportunity to level up, the higher-ups of the bounty hunters have stipulated that a hunter must at least be in the Devil King stage, a hunter master must be in the Spirit Devil stage, a hunter king must be in the Devil Monarch stage, a hunter emperor must be in the Devil Emperor stage, and a hunter god must be in the Devil Venerable stage. The experts in the devil world know that the Devil Venerable actually has the strength of a god. If you want to become a bounty hunter, is there a limit to the origin of a cultivator? For example, can a cultivator who already has a sect join? Xiaoling Yu touched his chin and asked with great interest. Gong He nodded and said, yes, there is no limit to the origin of a bounty hunter. No matter who you are, as long as you can meet the requirements, you can become a bounty hunter. However, each bounty hunter needs to complete a task according to their level every once in a while, otherwise they will be in danger of losing their bounty hunter qualification. Moreover, they also need to pay a fee to the bounty hunter organization every once in a while. If we fail the mission too many times, will it affect us? Xiaoling Yu asked again. It doesn't matter because we don't need to accept missions at all. If you fail a mission, you can continue or give up on the mission. There's no need to report to the branch. No one will know. The bounty hunter organization only records your successes. They don't record if you fail or how many times you fail. Moreover, our missions are usually dangerous. Failure usually means death. Gong He shook his head and explained. In that case, the bounty hunter organization is not very strict. Zhu Jin interrupted. These are only for bounty hunters below the level of Emperor Hunter. Emperor Hunters and Deity Hunters are the higher-ups of the organization. Their organization must be very strict. For a huge organization like the Bounty Hunters, if they are too strict, they won't be able to attract too many cultivators to join them. The higher-ups won't have the energy to supervise them either. At any rate, those below the level of Emperor Hunter won't be able to affect the bounty hunters much. The higher-ups won't care about the actions of ordinary bounty hunters, Gong He said disapprovingly. There should be a bounty hunter branch on the Blood Moon continent, right? Xiaoling Yu asked after pondering for a moment. Yes, there is. Almost every continent in the demon realm has a bounty hunter branch. Most of them only have one branch. The branch on the Blood Moon continent is in the Blood Moon City. It's easy to find it in the Blood Moon City. Gong He nodded and explained. Then, he asked curiously, why? Does the Great Master want to become a bounty hunter? Xiaoling Yu smiled and shook her head. Not at all. I just want to issue some missions. That's why I want to know more about this organization. By the way, you guys usually look for missions on your own. Do you accept missions that are specially assigned to you? Gong He replied, of course. After all, looking for missions is too coincidental. If you're unlucky, you might not find a mission for hundreds or thousands of years. If you have any needs or help, you can go to the branch to register. The branch will then present your mission in the hall of the branch. If the bounty hunters see it and are interested, they will take action. However, if the bounty hunters find missions on their own, they don't have to pay a fee to the organization. The client who issued the mission doesn't have to pay either. However, if the mission is issued in the branch will charge a corresponding fee according to the difficulty of the mission. The reward for completing the mission must be deposited in the branch first. Also, the bounty hunters will have to pay a certain percentage of magic stones to the organization after completing the mission. Do we have to go to the branch to issue a mission? Xiaoling Yu asked with concern. It's not necessary for the client to personally go to the branch. Someone else can take the mission. As long as there are enough magic stones and a strand of the client's soul imprint, it will be fine. After the mission is completed, the branch will take the initiative to contact the client. Gong He shook his head and explained. Must the reward be deposited in the branch first? What if no bounty hunter is able to complete the mission? Xiaoling Yu continued to ask. Of course, you have to deposit enough reward first. Otherwise, if the bounty hunter completes the mission and the client dies or is unable to deliver the reward due to other reasons, wouldn't the bounty hunter who completed the mission have worked for nothing? As for the mission that no one completes, the client can go to the branch at any time to cancel the mission and retrieve the magic stones deposited in the branch as long as the deadline is over. Alternatively, if the deadline is over, the branch will take the initiative to contact the client. The client can choose to cancel the mission or extend the deadline. Gong He explained patiently. The bounty hunter organization is so big. It must have existed for countless years. There should be no loopholes in many aspects. Zhu Jin added. That's good. When you go back, help me deliver a few missions. Xiaoling Yu said calmly. Gong He's eyes suddenly lit up when he heard this. He asked, You're not going to kill me? Haha, why would I kill you? I have no enmity with you. Now that things have come to this, you won't be able to complete the mission that Marquis Meng gave you. What's the point of killing you? Xiaoling Yu said with a smile. Haha, I knew it. I, Gong He, am blessed with good fortune. I can't die on my first mission. It seems that the heavens are still looking after me. Gong He laughed. However, if you continue to be like this, I advise you to go back to your brother as soon as possible. Otherwise, even if you don't die today, you won't be able to live long in the future. Xiaoling Yu felt that Gong He was still not mature enough and trusted others too easily. Hence, she reminded him in a bad mood. Haha, people will always improve. If I don't go out and explore and broaden my horizons, how can I become a wise and brave person? Gong He laughed dryly. Actually, I think that if the bounty hunters work together with the mountain bandits, it should be a good choice. Bounty hunters often travel outside and often go to the branch. There are more opportunities for them to come across some valuable missions. There are many missions that the bounty hunters can't complete alone, so they can ask the mountain bandits for help. This way, the probability of completing the mission will be higher and the time required will be shorter. Even if the reward is lower, it will be worth it. Anyway, the higher-ups of the bounty hunters don't care how they complete the mission. Most of the clients who issued the mission are in a hurry, so they won't care who the bounty hunters find to work with. Zhu Jin suddenly interrupted. Many bounty hunters have thought of this idea. Moreover, there are many people who work with organizations similar to the Mountain Bandit. I just haven't been in the industry for long and haven't found a suitable team to work with. However, it's also risky to work with other non-bounty hunters. After completing the mission, I might be killed by the partner. This is especially true for organizations like the Mountain Bandits who are easily tempted by profits. If they don't trust them, most bounty hunters won't work with others. Gong He said helplessly. We are tempted by profits, but we will never forget our righteousness. A mountain bandit leader in the middle stage of the Demon Lord said. Yes, I know. Most mountain bandits are very loyal. Gong He quickly agreed. He was afraid that he would lose his life if he angered these mountain bandits. Why don't you work with us in the future? You are just a beginner hunter and need our help. Before you grow and become more experienced, we can provide you with protection, Zhu Jin said sincerely. You will protect me? As Gong He spoke, he glanced at the mountain bandits in the secret room. At first, he was obviously disdainful. However, when he saw Xiaoling Yu, he said, That's a good suggestion. If it weren't for Xiaoling Yu, Gong He wouldn't have been captured alive and wouldn't need the protection of these mountain bandits. After all, most of these mountain bandits were much weaker than him. Other than Xiaoling Yu, only Tsang Ju was worthy of his attention. Most importantly, if we work together, we will be like a family. Only then will we be able to let you go without worry. Xiaoling Yu also thought that Zhu Jin's suggestion was good. Therefore, he added this sentence with a hint of threat. Haha, I, Gong He, have left home for only 300 years. To think that I have found a new home. I even have so many loyal brothers. Gong He thought for a moment before he replied with a hearty laugh. This kid is quite smart sometimes. Xiaoling Yu thought to himself. He's a promising talent. After that, Zhu Jin represented the Heavenly Bandits and reached a cooperation agreement with Gong He. The two of them swore on their souls that they would never betray each other. Heavenly Bandits. What a domineering name. It seems like your ambitions are not small. Gong He praised after they swore. Our goal is to become a bandit group that will make all the cultivators and factions in the demon world tremble in fear. We will sweep across the demon world and rob whoever we want. A simple-minded mountain bandit leader shouted solemnly. Chapter 245. Zhu Jin was in charge of discussing the details of the cooperation with Gong He. The Heavenly Bandits now had the help of an early-stage true demon cultivator, which could be considered a big deal and a good thing. However, how to use it would depend on Zhu Jin. Xiaoling Yu didn't have too much time to care about it. After teaching Tsangju the elementary, intermediate, and advanced demon curse techniques, Xiaoling Yu returned to the Eastern Demon sect. Of course, before returning, Xiaoling Yu engraved the mission he wanted to issue on a jade slip and handed it to Gong He. The mission Xiaoling Yu wanted to issue was not a special mission. It was to help him collect some materials that were necessary to break through to the chaotic void refining stage. Although the materials were not too advanced, because they were suitable for the cultivation of the 9 revolution chaos formula, they were relatively rare. Xiaoling Yu alone would have to slowly find them in the future. It was better to spend more magic stones and ask others to help find them. After all these years of shrewd management by Zhu Jin, the Heavenly Bandits had accumulated a lot of magic stones. It was enough for Xiaoling Yu to use to pay the bounty hunters who completed the mission. After all, his mission was only to collect materials, and it was not too risky. The reward for a mission that was not life-threatening was generally not too much. Because many bounty hunters often went out, if they had the chance to encounter the materials Xiaoling Yu needed, they would bring them back. Just as Xiaoling Yu returned to the valley of the Imperial Beast Hall, he was stopped by Wang Tai and Hao Rin before he had time to rest. Brother Xiao, the two of us are preparing to go into seclusion for a few months. Can you help us take care of the cubs? Hao Rin asked directly. Of course, that's no problem. Xiaoling Yu responded straightforwardly at first and then asked doubtfully, but why do the two of you want to go into seclusion at the same time? If you can do it first, it will be easier for me. Brother Xiao, don't tell me you still don't know. In another half a year, the sect will have a large competition to select a group of elites from the Earth Demon and Heaven Demon realms. Those with good results can even be accepted as disciples by the true demon ancestor. The two of us have also ascended for some time, and we want to try to advance to the Earth Demon stage before the grand competition. Hao Rin paused and explained. I know about this, and it is indeed an opportunity for you, but even if you can reach the early Earth Demon realm before the start of the assembly, won't it be difficult for you to achieve outstanding results in the Earth Demon realm's battles? The East Pole Devil sect doesn't lack Earth Devil mid and late stage disciples. Xiaoling Yu nodded and asked. The important thing is to participate. We definitely won't be able to fight for a high ranking. But it's good to go out and show our faces. What if some grandmaster takes a fancy to us? Hao Rin said with a hollow laugh. He seemed to be in a good mood. Okay, you two go into seclusion. Xiaoling Yu didn't ask any more questions. If he asked any more, they would think that he was deliberately evasive. Xiaoling Yu had been in seclusion in recent years. Miao Yan naturally wouldn't help him look after the group of cubs he was in charge of. Wang Tai and Hao Ren had been watching over them. Now that the two of them were going into seclusion, and it would only be for a few months, Xiaoling Yu had no reason to refuse. By the way, Brother Xiao, if we meet on the stage, you must show mercy. Howren said with a tactful look. Don't worry, I won't participate in the assembly. Xiaolingyu patted Howren's shoulder and said, Why won't you participate? This is a rare opportunity for cultivators like us who have just ascended. The two of us are very enthusiastic even though we haven't reached the Earth Demon realm yet. Brother Xiao, you have extraordinary means. It would be a pity if you don't participate. Wang Tai couldn't help but ask. I will cheer for you when the time comes. Xiaolingyu said with a smile and didn't explain. The assembly of the East Demon sect this time was only for Earth Demon and Heavenly Demon realm cultivators. Although Xiaolingyu had just ascended and usually only showed the cultivation of Earth Demon realm, he actually had the cultivation of early True Demon realm. His strength wasn't weaker than late True Demon realm cultivators. Naturally, he couldn't participate in the assembly. When the assembly began, there would certainly be Devil Sect experts present. As long as any True Demon realm cultivator came, it was very likely that they would be able to see through Xiaolingyu's details. Xiaolingyu didn't say anything, so Wang Tai and Howren naturally didn't continue to pester him. The two of them immediately returned to their respective seclusion rooms. In fact, if it weren't for Xiaolingyu giving them a large number of devil stones last time, they wouldn't have the confidence to break through to early Earth Demon realm. After all, they had ascended less than 100 years ago. Miao Yen was Middle Earth Demon realm and was still far from Late Earth Demon realm. In such a short time, it would be very difficult for him to reach Late Earth Demon realm, so he didn't need to go into seclusion. The most important thing was that he wasn't a subordinate of the old steward of the Imperial Beast Hall. At this time, even if he went to ask for leave, he wouldn't be able to get permission. With Miao Yin here, Xiaolingyu's task wasn't very heavy. Fang Yu was still in the Imperial Beast Hall. He was very depressed. The boy he disliked very much was taken away by his master, but he could still come back unscathed. It's fine if that guy came back, but that woman didn't take me back. It's really annoying. With that woman's temper and character, that fellow must have used some sinister method to deceive that woman for her to be able to come back alive. Maybe he even said a lot of bad things about me behind that woman's back. No, I have to go ask that kid. I can't just suffer in silence. With this thought in mind, Fang Yu had been looking for Xiaolingyu recently. However, Xiaolingyu's whereabouts were unknown. If he wasn't in seclusion, he would go out. It was very difficult for him to find an opportunity to stop Xiaolingyu and ask him. These days, Xiaolingyu finally didn't go out. Fang Yu first pretended to look for Miao Yen, and then came to Xiaolingyu with Miao Yen. At this time, Xiaolingyu was squatting down to feed the cub. Although he knew that Fang Yu and Miao Yen had come, he didn't show the slightest expression and pretended not to see anything. It wasn't that Xiaolingyu wanted to avoid these two. He just wanted to see what these two were thinking or hear what they had to say first. Brother Xiao, the sect tournament is about to begin. Why don't you go into seclusion for a while? Miao Yen asked with seeming concern. I think he already has a card up his sleeve. Although he was sent back a few years after being taken in by my master, he must have learned something, Fang Yu said meaningfully. I don't plan to participate in the tournament. You two don't need to worry about it, Xiaolingyu said indifferently, not raising his head to look at the two. What? You're not going to participate? Miao Yen said in disbelief. Fang Yu was also stunned, but then with a hint of disdain, he said, Then you know your place and don't want to lose face in front of your fellow disciples. You don't even have the courage to go up on stage. No wonder my master gave up. He has only ascended for less than 100 years. It would be good if he could reach the early Earth Demon realm. How could he be a match for the mid or late Earth Demon realm disciples? Just take it that I don't have the courage to go up on stage. Xiaolingyu glanced at Fang Yu, unmoved. What do you mean take it that way? You don't have the courage to go up on stage. Don't make it sound so nice. Right now, almost all of the sect's Earth Demon and Heavenly Demon realm disciples have signed up, but you don't even have the courage to sign up. Is it because your aptitude is too poor that my master didn't pass on anything to you?" Fang Yu said with a strange tone. As soon as Fang Yu spoke, Xiaoling Yu knew that this guy was trying to get information out of him. He was not as gullible as Gong He. "I know your master loves you very much. You can also make your master like you in bed. She must have passed on many powerful divine abilities to you. I hope you can achieve good results in the tournament," Xiaoling Yu said as he stood up and walked towards the next cub. "Humph. Stop." Hearing his master mentioned, Fang Yu's face alternated between green and red as he coldly snorted. Xiaoling Yu still walked forward, not wanting to waste any more saliva on these two. These two were clearly looking down on him. A mere earth demon dares to be so presumptuous. No matter what, Fang Yu was still a heavenly demon realm cultivator. Moreover, he was doing very well in the sect. His fellow earth demon realm disciples had to call him senior when they saw him, and cultivators of the same realm were also polite to him. Now that an earth demon realm cultivator dared to put on airs in front of him, how could he not fly into a rage? Fang Yu stomped his foot and quickly moved forward, blocking in front of Xiaoling Yu. With a sullen face, he said, "Don't think that just because senior brother Zhang is protecting you, you can disrespect your elders. I am speaking to you because I think highly of you. Don't be so shameless. I don't need you to give me any face. Move aside, I still have work to do." Xiaoling Yu's face was still very calm. He continued, "I want to remind you that you are now a worker of the Imperial Beast Hall, under the orders of the Lord Steward. Don't think that your status is much higher than mine. You're courting death." Fang Yu was enraged. He was infuriated by Xiaoling Yu's words, and also by Xiaoling Yu's calm expression. Although the sect had a rule that disciples were not allowed to fight, even if he risked being punished, he still wanted to teach this arrogant brat a lesson. After all, if something happened, his master would help him plead for leniency. Therefore, Fang Yu raised his arm and viciously slapped Xiaoling Yu's cheek. Slap. Unfortunately, he did not expect Xiaoling Yu to dare to fight back, nor did he expect Xiaoling Yu to have the ability to fight back. Before his slap could land on Xiaoling Yu's face, his own face was in pain. His ears were ringing and he saw stars in front of his eyes. After crying out in pain, Fang Yu's body spun 3 times on the spot, then staggered and fell on his butt. Xiaoling Yu did not use too much strength. He could not help but want to teach Fang Yu a lesson. However, he did not lose his mind out of anger. If he did not control his strength, this slap would have smashed Fang Yu's head into mush. "You dare to hit me?" Fang Yu shook his head violently and glared at Xiaoling Yu as he said, pointing at him, "What? Are you the king of heaven? Why wouldn't I dare to hit you?" Xiaoling Yu asked with a cold smile. Miao Yan, who was standing at the side, was first stunned by the scene in front of him. Then, he shouted and rushed towards Xiaoling Yu. Chapter 246. Bang! Miao Yan, who had just rushed to Xiaoling Yu's side, was kicked in the stomach by Xiaoling Yu, and his body flew out. Puff! Puff! Miao Yan spat out mouthfuls of blood, and his face was as pale as paper. He couldn't understand how the other party could attack so quickly when he had just ascended. "Boy, I want you dead." Fang Yu was furious. His body suddenly jumped up, and while rushing toward Xiaoling Yu again, he opened his mouth and spat out a black light. The black light expanded with the wind, and in a flash, it had turned into a black thorn. Impudent! The hunchbacked old man in charge had appeared out of nowhere. With a loud shout, he stood in front of Xiaoling Yu. With a wave of his sleeve, a powerful aura surged out. Not only did it sweep away the black thorn, but it also pushed Fang Yu a few feet away. This is the Imperial Beast Hall, not a battle arena. If you want to behave atrociously here, you have to ask for my permission first. The old man in charge reprimanded with a dignified face. "Senior brother Zhang, why didn't you come out when he hit me just now?" Fang Yu asked angrily. If you didn't come looking for trouble, how could a mere earth demon disciple dare to attack you? If you don't accept it, you can go back and look for Martial Uncle Lu, or you can go directly to the sect master to reason. The old man in charge snorted coldly. Fang Yu's face became even uglier. He was in the heavenly demon stage, and the other party was only in the earth demon stage. With such a great disparity in strength, he was actually the one who was beaten. If he went to his master, he was afraid that he would be scolded. After all, this matter was very embarrassing for his master. If he went to the sect master, he was afraid that at this time, this matter would quickly spread throughout the sect. No matter what, this matter happened in the Imperial Beast Hall, and he was the one who hurt me. Senior Brother Zhang, as the steward of the Imperial Beast Hall, you have the responsibility to give me an explanation. Fang Yu thought for a while and said hatefully. The old steward smiled and said, You were the one who provoked me first, and Shaolin Yu hit me after that. This is the principle that two hands can't clap. However, even if you provoked her, as a fellow disciple, Shaolin Yu should not have hurt you. If you insist on seeking an explanation from me, I can punish the person who did it. Senior Brother Zhang, please give us justice. My lord, please punish Shaolin Yu severely. Fang Yu and Miao Yan, who had just crawled up from the bed, spoke one after another. All right. The hunchbacked old man also shouted. Then, he said to Shaolin Yu in a seemingly just and dignified manner, You're not allowed to go out for the next 500 years. You'll have to do the work of 2 people. Furthermore, all the magic crystals given by the sect will be deducted. At this point, the hunchbacked old man paused and asked, Do you have any objections to this punishment? Shaolin Yu clenched her fists and said with a calm expression, I have no objections. In fact, in her heart, Shaolin Yu was overjoyed because these punishments did not affect her at all. After all, this punishment was given by the hunchbacked old man. The hunchbacked old man could remove it at any time. As for the salary penalty, Shaolin Yu did not care about the 1 low-grade magic stone that the East Pole Demon Sect gave every 10 years. Junior Brother Fang, do you have any objections? The hunchbacked old man asked Fang Yu again. Fang Yu's expression changed again and again. In the end, he could only nod and leave. Even if he knew that the hunchbacked old man was helping Shaolin Yu, he could not do anything. After all, this kind of shameful thing was really not suitable to be blown up. Moreover, Fang Yu's heart was now very puzzled. The other party was only at the Earth Demon stage. How could he slap me when I attacked first? It was absolutely impossible for an Earth Demon stage cultivator to have such fast speed. But he had clearly just ascended, hadn't he? Could it be that Jiang Kuei cheated? This guy did not just ascend? Or did he ascend after going through the 9 tribulations? Fang Yu touched his swollen and painful cheek while thinking in his heart. Although he did not want to make a big deal out of this matter, he would definitely not let it go. This time, he suffered a loss because he did not investigate the other party's background clearly and acted rashly. He absolutely could not suffer the same loss again. Therefore, he had to know more. After Fang Yu and Miao Yan left, the hunchbacked old man said to Shaolin Yu, Fang Yu is not a magnanimous person. You have to be careful in the future. As for the punishment, it was just for show. You don't have to take it to heart. And Shaolin Yu nodded softly. He did not take the matter just now to heart. Fang Yu and he were not at the same level at all. He would not care about what methods Fang Yu would use to retaliate in the future. Even his master could not do anything to me and was beaten up. Whatever he does is in vain. Shaolin Yu disdainfully said in his heart. What do you think about the competition? The hunchbacked old man suddenly asked. The hunchbacked old man had previously doubted Shaolin Yu's strength. When Shaolin Yu came back safely from the woman surnamed Lu, his doubts became even stronger. Just now, he saw Shaolin Yu slap Fang Yu's face with his own eyes. In his heart, He was almost certain that this guy's strength was definitely not as simple as it seemed on the surface. Even if he had really just ascended, he should have gone through the 9 tribulations. I won't participate, Xiao Yu replied. Hearing Xiao Yu's answer, the hunchbacked old man smiled slightly and did not ask any more questions. He only said, "It's good that you don't participate this time. There will be opportunities in the future." In the next few months, Xiao Yu was very busy. However, he was not tired. Now, he was only responsible for more than 2,000 cubs. When he first arrived at the Imperial Beast Hall, he could feed more than 3,000 cubs at a time. Besides, this was also a way to repay King Tai and Haoren. They had helped him, so he couldn't be too stingy. However, with his strength, he didn't need to be so stingy. Xiao Yu was already very proficient in feeding the cubs. In the process of feeding, he could also divide his attention to comprehend the devil curse technique. So, it wasn't a waste of time. A few months passed in a flash. In the blink of an eye, the day of the East Pole Devil Sect's elite disciple selection had arrived. Although the East Pole Devil Sect was a third-rate sect, it could still be considered as a first-rate sect. The overall scale of the sect wasn't small. In particular, the number of Earth Devil and Heavenly Devil disciples was not small. This time, more than 300 Earth Devil disciples had signed up for the competition, and more than 40 Heavenly Devil disciples had signed up for the competition. With so many people fighting, it was bound to consume a lot of time. During this time, the East Pole Devil Sect would be very lively and many things would happen. Xiao Yu didn't have much interest in joining in the fun. However, he had already promised King Tai and Haoren that he would watch the competition. At least, Xiao Yu wanted to see the competition between the two of them. Xiao Yu wouldn't treat others half-heartedly if they were sincere to him. This was his principle in life. There was a fighting arena in the center of the East Pole Devil Sect's encampment. It covered a large area. It looked more like a football field on Earth. However, this fighting arena was dozens of times bigger than a football field. A slightly bigger football field on Earth could accommodate more than 50,000 people. But this fighting arena could accommodate hundreds of thousands of people. The entire East Pole Devil Sect only had a few thousand people. Therefore, even though most of the East Pole Devil Sect's cultivators had arrived at the fighting arena, it still looked very spacious. The fighting arena was surrounded by grandstands, and there was a large area in the center. It was divided into 10 sections. So, 20 people could enter the arena in each round. King Tai and Haoren were also very hard-working. Both of them had advanced to the initial stage of Earth Devil before the start of the competition. Moreover, both of them were arranged for the third round of the competition. Xiao Yu arrived at the fighting arena after the start of the first round. He casually found an empty corner and stared at the center of the arena. The first to fight were all disciples in the Earth Devil realm. To Xiao Yu, their fight was no different from a fight between children. It was really boring. It was very difficult for a disciple to appear that could make his eyes light up. It was very boring to watch. Before the third round began, a person walked over to them. The person who came was the steward of the Hall of Fame that Xiao Yu had met when he first arrived at the East Pole Devil Sect. He was Old Manly, who had been at the peak of the late stage of Heaven Devil Realm for many years. What is he doing here? Seeing Old Manly smile at him, Xiao Yu responded with a smile. He was puzzled. At this time, Xiao Yu suddenly remembered that after he arrived at the Imperial Beast Hall, Old Manly had intended to transfer him from the Imperial Beast Hall to the Hall of Fame. It was just that he didn't agree at the time. In other words, this steward of the Hall of Fame had actually noticed him long ago. However, Xiao Yu couldn't be sure why he had noticed him, and what he had noticed about him. Greetings, Senior Li. When Old Manly stopped in front of him, Xiao Yu could only greet him. He felt that this old man wasn't simple, so he didn't want to neglect him. Haha, sit, sit. There's no need to be so polite. Old Manly said with a smile. Then, he sat down in the seat next to Xiaoling Yu also sat down, but didn't speak first. He didn't know the other party's background or intentions. It was best to speak less to avoid exposing himself. In terms of vigilance, Xiaoling Yu, who had experienced many storms, was much stronger than ordinary cultivators. Brother Xiao, you didn't sign up for the selection this time, right? Old Manly asked after a moment of silence. No. Xiaoling Yu softly replied. With Brother Zhao's aptitude, there's no need for you to participate in this kind of selection. Old Manly said meaningfully. Xiaoling Yu's heart skipped a beat. This Old Manly really wasn't simple. He was afraid that Old Manly had seen through his true cultivation. Although he was nervous, his expression didn't change as he replied, "Senior praises me too much." In front of this kind of person, Xiaoling Yu knew that he had to speak less. No matter what Old Manly said or what he saw, he had to continue pretending. Only then could he save himself some trouble. I like how careful you are. However, you've been in the East Pole Devil Sect for some time now. You've already revealed quite a bit. I'm afraid that it won't be long before you reveal even more. After another moment of silence, Old Manly suddenly said meaningfully, "You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories."